All right, welcome to the Sae Bae cast number 196 with Bird and Sparre. I do have their names shortened just for the title's sake, but it is good to have you guys on the cast. Welcome in, everybody, or welcome in. I always say welcome in, everybody, because that's like my stream thing. Welcome in, you two. How are you guys doing today?
You know, the audience is here too, not while we're recording.
That's
but
true.
I'm sure they're out there.
That is true.
They're a key part of the experience.
Yeah, they are. So let's get the voice with the name. So we'll start with you, Sparre. Can you give just a little bit of an introduction?
Yeah, I am a guy named Sparre. I am one of the co-hosts of the Guthix Rest podcast. I play a maxed main who's too much of a coward to get an Infernal Cape. So I'm currently doing forestry.
Nice. All right, Bird.
Hi, my online name is Birdfax. I play a group hardcore, or not group hardcore, regular group Iron Man. We were talking about group hardcore earlier. And all of my group members are gone, so I'm basically just playing regular Iron Man.
Like, what do you mean they're gone? Like they died?
Well, one of them's this guy who is instead playing his max main, and got nowhere on his group Iron, and then another one is just an IRL friend who just sporadically plays. So
I got to winter, Todd. Okay.
Wow.
80 fishing
Impressive.
or whatever.
Okay, 80 fishing. That's something.
I think it was like 80.
You were around for like a couple weeks, and then you were gone.
Yeah, it wasn't very long. It was just the release, and then I stopped.
And you guys are the hosts of the Guthix Rest podcast,
Yes.
which is also an old school RuneScape centered podcast. Can you guys dive into the history of that? By the way, before I guess we jump in, I'm going to have the Guthix Rest podcast linked down below, and I was on their podcast last year. It was a great episode. I enjoyed it.
It was really good.
There also is like that little history of how I even discovered your guys' podcast, which I thought is just super
Very goofy.
interesting.
Yeah, if you want to hear that, make sure you listen to the episode. 'Cause
Yeah,
it is a crazy story.
It's great. So let's jump in on how the Guthix Rest podcast started and where you guys are at with it now.
Yeah, so we started the podcast because it was because I pitched the idea to Bird after weeks of us trying to talk about the weekly game update in just our friend Discord, and then people piling in to talk about Destiny 2 or whatever other game. And quickly, our RuneScape chat would be drowned out by 5 other people talking about Destiny. So I was like, what if we just like structure this and record it, and then we can't be interrupted when we talk about whatever we're going to talk about anyways. And I came to Bird and I was like, Bird, listen, I am in my mid-20s. I am at a high risk to start a podcast. Will you help me start this podcast?
That is exactly how he phrased it. So,
yeah, there's no embellishment in that.
Yeah, that was word for word. I could probably find the Discord message. Very, very close, if not exact.
That's great.
I think I also said I was a white male, which also increases my likelihood.
I was going to say, there's a little bit more than just being your mid-20s. I was waiting for the white male part.
Yeah.
I think that was. I'm pretty sure that was there too.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm pretty sure
perfect.
that was
Yeah.
included.
Yeah, well, it happened to me too. I was at a very high risk of it. So,
Yeah.
okay. So when did this all happen? When did this all start?
April 2023, I believe, is when we first released our episode. But we had, I think we did our first recording in March. That first episode will never be released to the public because it was terrible.
No, you got to release the terrible ones, man.
I don't even think I have the audio anymore, if I'm being honest.
It was
I
that
probably
terrible.
still have
Okay.
my side.
Let's see.
You might still have it, yeah.
I have saved everything and organized it so nicely. It's probably still there.
I need to go back and actually organize stuff now that we're on season 2 of Guthix Rest. Oh my god, I finally got a loop half of key from trees in Varlamore. I've been here for weeks. But yeah, the first episode we still didn't really know what we're doing.
Yeah, it was just gonna be boring. Like,
yeah, it was boring is the main problem.
Yeah, that's
Like,
kind of. I feel like that kind of happens at the beginning of anything, even the beginning of any YouTuber's journey. You look back at their old videos, and they are just boring and monotone and unsure of themselves, and it just slowly gets better over time. But you got to just keep producing stuff.
Yeah, we've definitely like improved in like just how we communicate on the podcast. I still say and way too much, which is a problem when I'm editing, but
I think that's
it's
true of me as well. But
It's
yeah,
true.
we both do
the
it.
amount of fillers I have, it's just stupid. People still listen though.
Yeah, I recently got DaVinci Resolve Pro, totally legally
he's
and
falling
legitly.
out. Oh, never mind. He's not falling out.
Because they advertise that they have like AI removal for like and uh, like dead air. But the problem is it doesn't actually work if you have multiple audio tracks, which is how we record
Oh.
on Guthix Rest.
Oh, that's annoying.
Yeah, so
Can
I
you
could
do
fix
them one at a time?
Yes, but it doesn't
Oh,
care
but then
that
you'd have to like resync them, huh?
yeah, I'd
Yeah,
have to
that would be
resync every
horrible.
clip. So
That's frustrating.
I just didn't use it.
You
The-
could try merging the audio and
Yeah,
just like run a
but
test
that
run. You could run like a 10-minute test run of that.
the
See if
problem with that
works.
though is then I lose out on the ability. Like when I edit the Guthix Rest podcast, most of the editing is just removing dead air and ums. But I also, if like we talk over each other, I will slightly adjust when we talk so that we're not talking over each other. If like both of us are saying things that I feel should be heard, it doesn't happen often. Maybe it's like once or twice an episode, but like that's something I don't really want to lose. It does add
That's fair.
more complexity to the editing. That's probably not necessary. Most people probably won't notice or care, but I'm a bit of a perfectionist when it comes to editing. The last episode we put out, I think there was 400 clips in total
Jesus.
in an hour 40 podcast episode.
Oh my
So, like,
god.
yeah. Like I go way overboard on like cleaning up the audio. Really not necessary, but I feel like I don't know, just it's important to me.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
I'll get annoyed when I listen back to it if I don't do that.
That's
all that, and I probably still sound like an idiot.
okay.
Don't worry, I remove all of your ums if as long as you don't like mash it into the next word, I remove it.
So now he sounds like an articulate idiot. Nice.
Yes,
Yeah, exactly.
At least you're making me a little better.
Yeah. No, that's impressive. That's perfectionism in some way is a nice thing to have. It can also be very toxic at some levels, but I think the way you're doing it, it's just like you care about what you're producing, and I think that's really important. And also, podcasts are timeless, so having cleaned up audio for every episode, it's just going to make that sort of timelessness a little bit cleaner. It doesn't sound so jank. I mean, my beginning episodes, the first 20 episodes of the Sae Bae cast, you can go onto the YouTube. Now, to be fair, I did clean up the audio only on Spotify and stuff, but if you go on YouTube, I mean, I didn't even edit out the bathroom breaks. I mean, it was straight up. Like I would just hit record and it's running, like go. And so, I have one episode in particular, the whale, steamrolled tail first episode. He just changed his name to Whale, but I had him on, and I think we took like 2 bathroom breaks, and one of them was like 5 minutes long. So it was just a 5 minutes of silence, and then there's even like the audio of us like walking back to our desks, and one of us is like, "Hey, are you there?" And the guy doesn't respond because he's still pissing, and it's just
I love that.
bad. It's just like, Jesus, this is horrible. And the funniest part is like, nobody in the comments cared. Like nobody was like, "Dude, why did you not edit?" Because it was just like so. It was like the early stages where nobody expects that much, but oh my god, yeah, that was some good stuff.
I mean, yeah, you were. When did you start the Sae Bae cast? What year would that have been?
2020, actually. It was December 2020.
Yeah, I mean, back then, how many RuneScape podcasts really existed? Like, not many.
Well, it's actually interesting you say that because it's weird thinking when I made the Sae Bae cast, it felt like I was late to the game. That's what's the craziest part. You always feel late to the game.
Yeah.
And because there was the Rakesy, Rice Cup, Mint Mad Cow podcast, OSRS podcast, and theirs seemed to be like the dominant force at the time because there was that one, and then there was some like clan podcasts. There was the Hexus podcast that took a huge hiatus, and theirs was pretty well known. There was like the Omnia podcast and the other like high level podcasts. There was some Iron Man podcasts as well, and then there was also like the free-to-play one hosted by Pause. So there was some stuff going on, but a lot of it didn't seem... I don't know. Like it was kind of just... It's like it's hard to describe because it felt like a lot of those podcasts were kind of fading out. Like they just weren't consistent enough. OSR's podcast was consistent enough, but I decided, you know what? One of the things I absolutely love, and like the videos I come to on YouTube, is I want to hear people talk about RuneScape. That's just all I want to talk about. Like that's all I want to hear. It's all I want to do myself as well, is just talk. Mm-hmm. And I figured it would just be a great thing to just start it wasn't even intentional to start a podcast. It was simply just some sort of videos where I'm just talking with somebody, like rambles, basically duo rambles, and it ended up just turning into a podcast. So yeah, it's interesting now though, because now people think I'm like the grandfather of the OSRS podcast, but I'm really not. I mean, I was a baby at one point with it. So
yeah, I mean, obviously others existed before, but I don't think any like really got super popular. I mean, I guess the OSRS podcast was popular enough, but
God, they just sniped the best podcast name.
It is the best podcast name. Like it's so you Google OSR's podcast and it's just there.
It's like Moist Criticals. They have the official podcast.
Yeah, yeah.
That's just what their podcast is called.
I did not know that. That's great.
Yeah, official pod. Yeah, no, but for real though, if you look up OSR's podcast, because that's what people would do if they wanted to listen to an old school RuneScape podcast, and look up OSR's podcast, and that's you can get all their stuff. So yeah, genius. Mine, I just plastered my name all over it because why not? I'm just so into myself. Sae Bae cast. Yeah, there you go.
Let's go.
Yeah, when we had Nine Rain on Guthix Rest, we talked about podcast names a little bit, and we mentioned like Guthix Rest is a good name. Bank Stand-in's a great name.
Oh yeah.
I think anything like super RuneScape related, like people see it and they just instantly know like, yeah, that's a RuneScape podcast. And I think it also helps if like people are searching for specific stuff, they might stumble upon the podcast as well.
Actually one thing I just wanted to just hit on is I forget about the pod or the Spotify only podcast, or like the non YouTube podcast, because there's actually plenty of them. I was surprised because I was just on YouTube, just looking up kind of podcasts on there. But yeah, once you start exploring some of the Spotify OSR's podcasts, there's quite a few. And I think, what's the biggest one? I want to say like, is it XP Waste? Is that probably the biggest, would you say? And then there's like...
Yeah, probably.
I think of the other popular ones.
Boon Babe is another podcast.
Boon Babe, yep.
Yeah, she's about the same size as us. There's... Oh, God. I had a list a while back. Of
there's a list. There's a list. The thing is, like, there's just not good ways to explore podcasts on Spotify. Like, there's no algorithm, really. It's just, like, you got to, like, manually search this stuff.
Oh, the Wilderness Podcast.
Wilderness Podcast, that's another one, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're right about Bank Stand-in, but that one kind of has faded out, and they haven't really kept up with it. That was Jimmy.
It makes me sad. They said they were coming back. They released one episode.
Didn't they say they were coming back?
Yeah, when Nine Rain came on, he said he was going to release another episode soon. I think, if I remember right. And then...
You could just tell Nine Rain wants Bank Stand-in to come back so bad. I think it's mainly Jimmy's the limiting factor, because Nine Rain joined Based After Dark as a regular. And I think that was because he was just really desperately wanting to get on.
He just wants to chat.
Yeah, he just wants to be on the podcast. But, you know, even that kind of faded out. I think
he shows up sometimes for
because he just realizes, oh, this isn't like really I'm actually a part of Base, so technically I'm a quote unquote regular there, although I'm not a regular host, but I am part of their team, so I can just jump on whenever I want. But Nine Rain, it seems like, and this is just my own way, it seems like he jumped into it too quickly. Like, yes, I want to be a regular on the Base After Dark podcast, and then he realized, like, oh, this is a lot of work, and it's like I don't know what it exactly is. I feel like the people he's talking to, he's just a little bit different than them, and so he can interact and he can do great. But I feel like him and Jimmy had such a good chemistry that, like, it's not the same. And I feel like Nine Rain kind of feels that. So he just like never really jumps on. Like he's never like trying to get on the Base After Dark podcast, because I think he had kind of like enough of it. Honestly, that's what it seems like. But he has been a busy guy, and when they started up bank standing again for that one episode, I was like, okay, this is his calling again. He's coming back to bank standing. But no, it didn't last. Unlucky.
Very unlucky.
Yeah, it makes me sad. I really did enjoy bank standing the few episodes.
They were
come
great.
back.
Him and Jimmy were great. I think.
They have good chemistry.
I think you guys do too, personally.
Aw.
I think you guys bounce off each other really well, and I think that just kind of happens naturally the more you do podcasts.
I also think that kind of occurs because we've known each other since like high school.
Yeah.
And we're just like actually friends. And as discussed previously, the whole point the podcast started was literally just so that we could like sit around and have a discussion we were going to have anyways.
Yeah, I will say, to be fair, we weren't super close friends in high school.
Yeah.
It wasn't until post-high school that we started like hanging out more. You were like a friend of a friend in high school.
Yeah, it was like the circles of circles kind of thing. But
yeah.
So have you guys ever had a podcast where you're in the same room together, like in the same like
No.
environment?
we have
Or it's
not yet,
always-
mostly just because the audio would sound worse.
Yeah,
I see.
like the setup would just be more annoying. We'd be either recording on two mics and trying to figure out how to like isolate each other, and I don't know how to do that. I'm gonna be honest. When it comes to audio stuff, I am like a baby. I have no idea what's going on. I'm just like Googling like what's a good podcast mic, and then I bought like some Shure MV7s because people said they were good.
Yep.
And like I don't know like what a DAC versus an amp. I don't know. Someone told me to buy this thing, so it's sitting on my desk.
You're literally me.
Yeah, and like I have no idea how to do like any of that stuff. So
I used to know a little more because I was a big band geek, so I knew a little bit about the audio side just because I occasionally had to help out set up some of that stuff, and I like learned by osmosis. But realistically, I still have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's bad. So let's kind of get into some of these recent things that have happened. So obviously Varlamore Part 2 dropped, and we are seeing now. I feel like Varlamore Part 1 was a massive success. Varlamore Part 2 didn't quite hit the same. What do you guys feel? Do you feel that?
I would tend to agree. I don't think it kind of saying that, Varlamore Part 1 was a massive success and then saying this one didn't hit the same. It's not that Varlamore Part 2 is not a success. It's mostly just not that there's like a big exciting thing happening. Like this is a continued expansion to a place that now already exists, and there's no like big content. Like there's no Coliseum, there's no
Hunter Guild.
Yeah, Hunter Guild. There's like a lot of smaller things that aren't nearly as exciting that I think are all successful, but just not nearly to the same exciting level degree that Varlamore Part 1 was.
I think we stepped away from the Varlamore Part 2 episode we did, and I stepped away from that thinking that like Varlamore Part 2 is not aimed for end game players. It's aimed for like the mid game player or the early game player. And I think for those kind of players, it is a good update because you get like the Herblore activity, which I have actually been really enjoying doing for the collection logs. But then you also have the dragon boss Hucodal, which I think is good for people that like are just getting into bossing. If you have like your new friend who can't do any other boss with you, you can bring them to Hucodal and they'll do just fine.
Yeah, the mechanics are very simple.
Yeah, and then a Moxolotl, or whatever the name is, Moxie, is not like a super exciting boss, but like it's easy enough to do the mechanics. I think like a new player can hop into that boss and do fine, and then they can get like some decent crush weapons and the ability to teleport around Varlamore pretty quickly.
Yeah, I was a pretty big fan of Varlamore Part 2 as well. I think, like you said, there has to be something almost really exciting just for everybody to get pumped. But and you wanted to talk about this, Sparre. Like, you wanted to talk about how I see the game now after having started a brand new account for the first time in like 7 years. And these simpler updates, this is still a huge update, but it's simple in the terms of like just kind of mid-game stuff coming out and little fun activities, like the mastering mixology is great. And these kind of things that just expand on the world without going like over the top and stuff, I feel like are just amazing. And it gives more variety and more life to the game, and just more routes to go down with the early and mid game, which is so good. And I see it way clearly.
It's crazy how different the mid game is nowadays than it was like when I started my main or even my group iron like 2 years ago now. Like, I was looking into gear. One of my buddies is trying to get his first fire cape on his Iron Man. And I was looking into like gear upgrades because he doesn't know anything, and he was going to try and just like main hand ancients the whole way. And I was like, you are going to waste so many runes and not have a good time. So I looked around and I was like, hang on, the Sunlight crossbow exists. That thing is crazy for the mid game. Holy.
Yeah, it's really good.
Atlatl goes crazy too, because I was.
Yeah, Atlatl is also very good. He's afraid of moons though, unfortunately.
Yeah, no moons. I mean, even No Monkey, the high level PVMer that just can't even, until he started this hardcore group. For most things in the game, he just found them as completely useless. Like, this is useless unless it's absolutely best in slot at one of the raids or one of the highest level PVM encounters. It's just useless garbage to him. But now he's starting to really see kind of that mid game aesthetic, and he even agreed. He made a video just talking about how moons really changed.
Yeah, I saw that. I haven't watched it yet. I saw it on my feed though, and I was like, this seems slightly out of character for him. And that makes more sense having heard that explanation.
It's interesting because you have this new armor that comes out with Moons of Peril, and it's genuinely it's phenomenal armor. It's really, really good. And I remember back in the day, this is just one of the things to just mention, is like when I was killing Seracnus way back, I was using Void Mage or Void Robe Bottoms, because that had the highest like non-degradable magic defense. It was 30.
Yeah, I did the same.
And besides Armadale, but you didn't want the negative bonuses, and there wasn't Masori at the time. But then you now have Eclipse, Blue Moon, and the Blood Moon that all actually I'd have to check on the Blood Moon, but at least the Eclipse and the Blue Moon have 31 mage defense on top of strength bonus and on top of just other random bonuses. It's just wow, like this stuff is crazy, but it does cost. That's the
the repair costs are actually pretty high for it too. It's like
very high.
Gold or something, right?
Fairly steep.
But that's how you make a really balanced piece of equipment, and that goes back to my argument that I've had for years on charged things make sense. Yes, it's obnoxious. It's obnoxious to charge things. It's obnoxious to upkeep things. And you try to limit, you really try to get rid of as much of the annoyance as possible when it comes to charging. But the actual, that balancing is so good, because if you were to just come out with moons that's completely free, it would just completely ruin the need for like Bandos and stuff, besides if you're going to go get Torva.
Yeah, definitely.
I think the benefit of something like the Blood Moon Tacits, or just the whole set for all those, is that you can use them for 45 hours before it degrades. It's a long time. If it was like 5 hours, that would be really annoying.
Yeah, that would be bad.
I think also what's kind of interesting is that the weapons do not degrade. And that makes it so that if you just want to like main hand, the Atlatl or the Moglheedles, or probably not the staff, just somewhere, but you could do the staff as well.
To be fair, the staff is mage strength, so
I think it's a 10%, right? I don't think it's a 15%.
I don't know. I can look.
Are you talking about the Blue Moon staff?
Yeah, the Blue Moon staff.
That's just 5%.
5, okay.
Yeah. It's still
Shows
like
you how much
an
I've used
early
it.
game mage strength item.
Yeah, which is good. So I suppose it's kind of nice for that early game. But yeah, I've found that occasionally from time to time I'd be using just the Moglheedles on like a Slayer task, so I wouldn't use the rest of the armor just to not degrade it, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, and it's still
but
good.
then obviously you miss out on the set effect, which is kind of what I think makes having the armor be degradable be fine.
Yeah.
Because the set effect is very strong, at least on Blood Moon.
Yeah. No, it's interesting how they went with that, because had also been a proponent of not having armor ever degrade. It was always I wanted the weapons to be the things that are charged. And I still kind of fall in line with that, but I do agree that it would be pretty hard to balance those moons armors if it wasn't degradable or had.
I think they did it pretty well.
They did, I think.
What do you think about the trend of things always having an option to be like unlimited if you put an excess number of charges in it?
I personally, I'm not a huge fan of that. I just want the caps to be so outrageously high. Like I want, with the Moon's armor, it's a little bit wonky because it's kind of like degrading. It just reminds me of Barrow's armor. It's not quite the same, but it's like that same system.
Very similar.
But when it comes to like charged weapons, I always am just like, dude, just give us 100,000 charges. Like just give the Blood Fury 100,000.
Max integer.
Yeah. I mean, I'd even be okay with that, but you can make some horrible blunders, I think. If you couldn't get 'em
probably, yeah.
But 100,000 seems to be very reasonable for a Scythe, for a Trident, for Ibans, for Shadow. Just make everything 100,000, and then it's like you barely have to think about it ever.
And then just make sure there's a chat message that gets thrown in there when you're about to run out, so you don't get jump scared by, oh, I forgot to charge my weapon for like 2 years.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's genuinely like it feels like it's unlimited, but that would be what I would want. As soon as it becomes unlimited, like the Bofa, for example, it's, don't get me wrong, like it feels great, but the reason it feels great is because you don't have to go through the annoyance of charging it up. Like if the Bofa simply just had like a million charges, you could just shove into it, or however. Now, to be fair, I think the cost of the Bofa corrupting is honestly like,
it's pretty steep.
It's very high.
I believe
it's high,
for most,
but
I believe I remember the calculations for mains. It's usually not worth it.
Really,
considering how quickly, or well, air quotes, how quickly you're gonna upgrade out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My first like rebuild on my main account was a Bofa rebuild, and I ended up corrupting it, which is probably the right play for me for how long I've had it now. But every once in a while, I get jump scared by my crystal armor degrading. And I'm like, oh, you're right. This can still degrade.
That's the other thing with Bofa is even corrupting the Bofa, it kind of works like the Moon's armor, where you're still having to pay a cost to use it effectively.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I've definitely become a little bit more loose on that view. Maybe I would be okay with things being corruptible. The problem is I just worry. Like I worry about there not being any costs to anything at like some point. Like we're
I think for the most part I tend to agree as well. It's like there needs to be a cost, which is why I think Bofa's fine, because the armor still costs, and if you're using Bofa without at least like 2 pieces of crystal, you're kind of throwing. So there's still a cost associated even while it's corrupted to use it effectively.
Yeah.
Whereas something like, the Scythe or what have you, that you just use it. It just goes. The rest of your armor is not, still relevant, but max gear right now I think has no pieces of degradable equipment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least max melee.
Yeah.
So Scythe having a cost, it has no other associative cost with it right now. So yeah, probably having a corruptible one doesn't make a ton of sense. But then, as we've discussed before, which I think we talked about on the episode with you, the whole blood runes charging thing, and I remember you had said that you had wished that at least with the charged melee weapons that they just were charged with GP straight up. Do you still feel that way?
I just want a very, very simple, standardized charging thing. So, something I do like about the repairing of armor is, for the Moon's armor, you don't have to go to a special fucking well deep down in the Moons of Peril and then use 2 ingredients to repair your armor, and you have to run down there every time. It's like, no, you just go to the Bob's axes, and that's it. And that's for everything. It's for barrows. It's for all the stuff you want to repair. You just go there and it's like, boom, it's all done. And that's a similar thing to what I want with all charged weapons. It's like, people, it doesn't really like thematically work where you're just charging it with GP, but it just makes it a really simple thing where like you just dump GP into a scythe, for example, or something. Or even if you wanted to keep some of the thematics, what you would do is just go to an armor stand and you would charge it there somehow, something that's making some sort of lore sense that you're going there and you're charging it up on this special anvil or something, but the way you're charging it is through GP. So you dump GP into it, similar to like the armor stand repairing. I just feel like something as simple as GP just makes things a lot more simple. Now, it can't be with everything, of course. Crystal armor wouldn't really make too much sense if it was being charged with GP, but...
And I think they've done a good job, specifically with crystal armor, addressing the issue at hand there, which was obtaining crystal shards was kind of a pain in the ass. They've made that less of a problem. So
I definitely think thieving for the enhanced teleport seeds is a little silly as the best method for obtaining crystal shards. I think it still is the best, but
the other methods are really good now.
Yeah.
I was doing, I think, Kurasks
you should passively earn enough
caves, and there was a lot. If you get the acorns literally ever, those trees give like a gabillion shards now. It's crazy.
Do they?
Yeah.
You should only give like 16. What do they do?
Yeah, they actually give like a reasonable amount now. I forget what it is, but it's good now. So
that's nice. Yeah, that's really nice.
28 to 32.
Yeah.
I also heard like using
Is it 20 to 32 with ultra compost?
Yeah.
Okay. I heard using those enhanced crystal keys as well.
Yeah, you
gives
actually
a
mostly
shit ton of shards.
you mostly profit shards from making keys now.
Which is a little upsetting because I just had opened a bunch of Elven Crystal chests right before that update dropped.
That's the problem. If you want to be efficient, you just got to log out for a few years.
Yeah, procrastinators always win.
It's true.
See, but procrastinators aren't having fun playing the game. So
true. They're fine. They're having fun playing the game when they come back. They're probably having fun playing a different game, in fact.
That's true, yeah.
One thing I'm looking forward to is when all the run energy changes happen.
Once they finally figure that out, yeah.
Yep, and then we have all of the. I mean, we're still waiting on Guardians of the Rift update, and then we have Varlamore 3 out. And as soon as all that's out, that would be, and potentially even sailing at that point. But before sailing, even that would be a really fun time to start like a brand new Iron Man with all these nice quality of life that have come in.
Because we all know there's going to be some more mid-early game stuff in Varlamore Part 3 with the way that things have gone.
Yeah, they're coming out with the Enraged mechanic boss.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had heard RS3... I this could be completely wrong. It was some random thread on Reddit. Apparently RS3 is removing some of their Enraged mechanics or something. Or they had issues with them. I'm speaking on my ass. It could have just been misinformation on Reddit because someone was mad about the design or something.
I mean, there's some it's pretty shittily designed on RS3. I mean, some guy posted like a screenshot of him getting like the max Enrage or something. Now, of course, this is like a Wooks level dude, but still, you see the loot and it's like, here's 20,000 battle staves and fucking 20,000 water talismans and here's whatever the hell else. It's just like, I mean, it was like 20 different piles of like 10K plus loot. Like it's just like billions, just generating just random ass supplies. Just so much.
What they were saying is that like the problem is the players that can do like max Enrage basically devalue it for everyone else.
Yeah.
And if you can't do max Enrage, all the loot is worthless because you don't get enough anymore to make it worth it because they're all worthless now.
Yeah,
So.
no, it's a dangerous thing to balance. There is a way to balance. In my opinion, now I haven't like spent a ton of time thinking about this, so I might, there might be some slip up. But I just personally think if you want to come out with an Enrage thing, it can't be shitting out Alks and other supplies like up the wazoo. It's got to be unique.
I think they kind of figured that out with the Wilderness.
Yes, and
they kind of realized they have to be careful with just shitting out Alks all the time. And I think they figured that out before the Wilderness as well.
It just has to be like if it was an Enraged thing, what it has to be is you have to have very valuable uniques that are extremely valuable, and the higher Enrage you get, the higher chance you get of getting it, which probably doesn't sound quite as fun as just seeing mountains of loot. You could still have some loot that's, somewhat respectable. But man, when you're seeing like just 20,000 battle staves being shot out, just
I mean, yeah, we've seen them trying to figure this out over time with the way the Nightmare drop table works and the way the DT2 bosses came out.
Mm-hmm.
They're very clearly aware of the problems of drop tables.
I think it's a really hard problem to
they've
solve,
been experimenting and trying to figure out stuff that works and what doesn't. And their levels of success have varied. But I think overall, it is good that they're trying stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. It feels like almost guaranteed Enraged bosses are going to have some horrible
Yeah, there'll be
downsides.
some problems, I'm sure. But the idea of an Enraged boss, just from the perspective of a player fighting the boss, not actually worrying about the loot, it at least sounds fun.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
It sounds very fun. Because, like, you're already trying to stay there as long as you can to maximize, how many kills you can get per hour. And adding on top of that, the boss is getting harder and harder every time you do it. And, like, maybe they go the way RS3 does, where, like, new mechanics get added too.
I really hope that's
fun.
the way they go, because just increasing all the numbers will always be a very boring way to increase difficulty. So, obviously, there doesn't need to be a new mechanic every single time the boss spawns in. But, like, just a couple here and there. Keep it exciting.
Every time you go, like, an extra 10 kills or something,
I think that's,
add something.
I know it's probably a tired subject, but I think that's kind of one of the issues that a lot of people had with TOA is just that the ways of changing the difficulty weren't different enough.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the main difficulty that's added by adding invocation isn't the mechanics that you're adding. It's the boss's defense and HP scaling. It just makes it take forever.
I know.
Yeah, because the invocation system, it's a great concept, but just not super well executed.
There's like 5 invocations that I think actually add any difficulty to the run, and it's not even that much harder.
I'm one of those people that actually thinks like just having fewer options is better.
Fewer, more exciting options.
Yeah, and
things that significantly change the way you interact with something.
I'm even more of a fan of just how Theater of Blood has done it, where it's like you got an entry mode, you got the normal mode, and you got the challenge mode.
Yeah.
Or the
I'm
hard
not
mode.
super opposed to that. I used to play a lot of Destiny 2, as kind of alluded to back when Sparre was talking about how people would join and talk about Destiny 2, because I played that game back then. And they did it the same way. They kind of fell off a little bit, in my opinion, but it was just, there was the regular mode, and then there was the prestige mode, which was, there's a couple extra mechanics and the enemies are a little harder. That's it. Which I liked that. Of course, later it became the enemies are a little harder and there's no extra mechanics, and I was really upset about that because I think that's boring.
I just think TOA, when I was doing solo TOA, which was my first mistake, I shouldn't have been doing solos because it just made the experience miserable, but I was constantly in my head about, okay, I should really pump up the invocation to get a better, higher purple chance, but I'm going to fucking hate this raid as soon as I pump it up. So I'm just caught in this like middle ground the entire raid where I'm just continually overthinking, like, man, I should have pumped this up a little bit. Or, I pumped it up too high and now this is fucking annoying. Like,
and it's interesting because Chambers is kind of the same way now that you can add as many scales as you want. Like, I know a lot of people probably don't do that, but you could get in your head the same way at Chambers now.
That's
is
true.
Kind of weird to think about.
That is true. You could. I haven't even touched that. The scaling option.
Yeah, because I used to do a lot of 3+2s back when I first started doing Chambers, and it added just enough more difficulty and just enough more points to keep it interesting. But it's interesting to think that you could be like, oh man. What if we do 3+5s? Get a purple chance higher. What if we do 3+12s? It's just the never-ending sinkhole.
I would love it if Raids 4. This is kind of what I've been thinking for Raids 4. Is it's a raid that maybe is up to 6 people or something. 6 total people is the max you can have in there, and it's just one set scaling. So there is no scaling anything. Like, it's not like if you go in as a 3-man, it's going to be twice as easy. Everything is the same HP, same defense, no matter how you enter it. So the benefit is to go in with a 6-man. Like that's simply just going to make the raid easier. And so that is the incentive to do 6-man.
And then there's also a theoretical benefit to do lower groups if you can, because then your individual purple chances will be significantly higher.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean that,
but it'll be a lot harder and perhaps take too long.
Exactly. And if they make it so it's more roles based, that's what I'm really hoping they do as well, where it almost feels like an obligation to have 3 people in there because you kind of want all 3 styles. And who knows, maybe they'll even set some like parameters around like you can only bring this much gear into the raid. You know, they could even have some sort of limitation where it's really trying to force you to go in with a certain class, almost like, okay, you're the ranger.
Yeah, kind of designated roles type thing.
Yeah. And
I've always liked that, the idea of something that has slightly more designated roles, but it always seems something like it would be difficult to do in old school.
It's hard to do in old school because there's so much skill that's in switching gear and stuff. Like there's a lot going on with switching gear. Now there still can be some gear switches, but and then you could still solo the raid technically. So you'd have, let's just say they have some limitations on how much gear you can bring. You could still bring like minimal switches and go into solo or something. Again, this is all just me spitballing. It doesn't have to there doesn't have to be any limitations on what you bring. But if they wanted to make some sort of roles based raid, they could do that. And I think the best way to go about it, encouraging team play, is to simply just give it one scaling that's scaled for a 6-man. Or whatever the highest is, and then if you want to go in any less, you're just going to have a rougher time, but if you're really good at the game, you'll be fine. But yeah, I think something about like kind of feeling comfy in a 6-man and really trying to get into a 6-man is a good way to go about it. Because with Toa, as soon as Toa dropped, I was like, okay, I'm just going to solo this whole thing because I can. Like, it's just like, it's scaled to a 1-man. It's whatever. But if Toa had dropped with 1 scaling, let's just say, it's a completely different universe we're living in. It just had 1 scaling and 8-mans, people were just barely getting it done. Like that, you would just feel obligated to jump into an 8-man. Like, and that would be kind of cool. You'd experience more group play. People would just be like, yes, I need to get an 8-man. So like you're kind of, who knows if people actually want that kind of system. I think a lot of people do talk about having raids be the group stuff. But it's got to be encouraged. Like there's got to be incentive to be in a group,
I mean, listen, Sparre knows that I'm probably frothing at the mouth right now because that you are speaking my language. I talk endlessly on the podcast on how I think it's very strange that we play an MMO where basically every piece of content is designed to be and often is optimally solo.
Yeah.
Even if it's not like particularly designed to be solo, like I took very much an issue when I think it was Kieran, it might have been another mod, was talking about how they want to make sure every piece of content that's added to the game, even if it's designed for groups, has the solo player in mind. And I was like, I don't know how I feel about that because I still like distinctly group content that, is soloable by accident, that very skilled players can somehow figure out how to solo, but it might be like jank or extremely difficult and therefore not worth it. But for the most part, the group experience is very fun, very interesting, very exciting. So yeah, I totally agree with like basically everything you just said.
Yeah, no, there needs to, I definitely agree with most of what the developers, because the developers see the game from a different perspective. And I understand fully that they see that a lot of players do not want to be with teams.
Yeah,
like that's
they don't want to be, or they don't want to have to rely on teams.
Yeah, they don't want to have to
acquire
rely
things.
And I'm
like,
part of that.
It's not necessarily that everybody hates group play. It's just that, I mean, even as someone who likes group play, sometimes it can be a hassle. It's
a hassle, and they've also like made bad incentives. Like there's incentive to not be in teams. So, like for example, Chambers, if they were to get rid of the point loss you get when you die, that would 100% make me want to do more team raids. Because as soon as one person dies, okay, well, there goes a fuck ton of points. Oh, there it goes.
And I feel really bad bringing learners to Chambers, too. Like, the other night, I was doing a learner with a guy that's never done raids before. And we get to Ulm, and he planks, like, 4 times. And it's just like, well, like, I still want you to learn, so come back in, but just know we're not gonna get anything anymore.
Yep.
Like that sucks.
It's really
But
it's bad.
Obviously,
it's
I
bad
didn't say
design.
that to him. I just told him to get back in here. He's gonna keep learning. But like in the back of my head, I'm like, well, I'm getting no drops anymore, even though I haven't died yet.
Yep.
And
No, that's
I think
really bad.
Yeah.
That's really bad design, and I think optimally there should just be no point loss. That you are already slowing your raid down. You're already losing points per hour by bringing learners in. Like that is the point loss per hour by bringing in people that you're trying to explain shit to.
Yeah,
And-
when I do learner TOAs, they take like an hour because I'm sitting there explaining the rooms for like 15 minutes. Like,
and then
it
you
takes so
and then
long.
you end the raid with no points. It's like, oh, great, yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, and the guy's been sitting in the balcony for the entire raid. It's like, feels bad.
Yeah, it's bad. So they need to adjust those kind of things.
That's the one thing that I do like about Chambers. Like, yeah, sure, you might fucking tank all your points by planking a bunch, but at least when you die, you can just get back in immediately and keep trying things. Like, yeah, you can do the same thing at entry, Tob, and at lower invo Chambers, or lower invo TOA, by just not having the limited deaths on, and then the person that's teaching can just tank a death, and you can just sit there and practice it.
Mm-hmm.
But any one of those ways, I suppose you're still losing all your points. But Chambers, there's no hassle to it. You literally you're back. You can just keep going.
Yeah.
Especially at Ulm, because you just spawn right there. So
I think one option they could actually do with Chambers is just default right now, make it so there is no point loss. If you die, there's no point loss. But do you want additional points, then you can turn on the like hardcore mode, which you're gonna actually get more points if it's deathless. But if you die, then you actually do lose points. It's like the high risk, high reward.
Do you make it so it's not a safe death anymore to go along with that?
I mean, I've been wanting that. But the thing is, it's like almost too late. I actually don't think it's ever too late to change things. I would love it if normal hardcore Iron Man just they full on were like,
there'd
okay,
be
Chambers
so
is
many
dangerous
people
now.
upset
Everything
about
changes.
that. But
Oh yeah, it'd be horrible.
I'm totally with it.
Yeah,
personally.
I'm an advocate that like, yeah, it sucks that you didn't get to use the free deaths at Chambers on your hardcore, but like I think it's better for the game if it's
anything
if it's that way.
benefits the game as a whole. Sometimes it's a sacrifice we have to make.
Yeah, it's just weird because well, one of the arguments against it. There's plenty of arguments against it, and I am completely sympathetic, which is why I'm not like pushing for any of this stuff. And I doubt it would ever be implemented anyway. But there are people that are like, well, what about all the people that got the free T-bows basically, but just endlessly sending raids? And it's like, yeah, like we'll have that. We'll have these like kind of like archaic hardcore accounts that have all their Chambers items, got full ancestral and everything. But I don't know. I just feel like it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world to just be like, okay, hardcore is now hardcore across the board. It's just there it is. It's just we've made the transition. So now
it's clear. I mean, it's
People make
clear
the
that they want to do that because they did it with group hardcore.
I know.
And they're
It's too
clearly
hard
too afraid to go back to regular hardcore and do the same.
I know, and it's gonna affect the hardcores. Like, because there's a lot of hardcores that actually like how hardcore is, where it's kind of like medium core. They like the medium core, and I don't blame them. It's like they got their one comfy raid that they can just chill and die in on repeat, and that's comfy for them, and it drops a lot of the good shit that they.
It's time for them to learn. I see people make the same argument too for why mega skills should stay, because like, oh, someone else gets to abuse mega skills. Why can't I abuse it on my iron?
Mega scales need to go. The fundamental issue with mega scales is that you're funneling points into an account that didn't earn them.
Yeah, I don't have any issues with people doing mega skills and not like cheating the points over to another account, but like,
yeah, that's totally fine. Do whatever you want.
I think that mechanic is just dumb.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's like anything else. I even brought up the example. This must have been several episodes back. It's like imagine you could jump into a Nex with a level 30 account that just sits in the back and just always is out of Nex's range. Yeah. And he just sits there, does nothing. And so a 4-man kills Nex. And then at the very end, before Nex dies, all 4 of them telly out. So now all of the points, all the potential loot is going to that one like level 30
it would be
account.
Dumb.
Yeah, and then, so he just gets like full fucking Torva, just without actually doing anything. It's just funneling it over. That's fundamentally wrong. Like that should not be a mechanic to funnel shit over to other accounts.
Or
that
even
goes.
let's any God Wars boss. Imagine if someone's doing Grador and they just have an account just sitting in the corner, sipping brews the entire time, and then everyone hops worlds or something right when the boss dies. Like that'd be silly.
That would be a lot more complicated to execute. But yeah, no, I agree. It's just the funneling of stuff is the part that needs to go. And so that's my problem with mega scales.
I'm gonna keep it honest here.
Yeah.
I know how mega scales work. I live under a rock. What is this funneling thing? I have actually not heard of this.
The reason these
Like I
mega
understand
scales,
what's happening. I just don't understand how.
what happens is one account does, this huge. He does all of Ulm, and he's got a bunch of fucking points, and then he leaves the raid. But those points are still in the team's points, and so whoever has the most points now, whatever the point division is now between the rest of the players in the raid. Now it's being divided by, who has the most amount of points, because we still got a shit ton of team points, and there's going to be like a 65% purple chance right here. So it's going to be given to whoever, gets it. And it could still not be that account, but the likelihood is way higher in their, name. So
yeah, that needs to go.
Yeah, it's very dumb.
Yeah, I mean, the solution seems pretty obvious. Just make it so that if you leave the raid, you all of your points disappear. Yeah. They're gone.
Exactly.
I'm a big Chambers enjoyer, and I also don't have a problem with mega scales in their normal sense. But yeah, that I did not know that was a thing. I had heard vague rumblings of it, but I never understood how it worked. And that's dumb.
Yeah, even the people that do the mega skills that get paid a shit ton of GP to boost some Iron Men think it's dumb, but they're gonna keep doing it because it makes them a shit ton of GP.
Yeah, that's how it works. The market's there. Abuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not great, and it is really odd when you see these accounts. Because don't get me wrong, it's cool. It's still a possibility to be a very low level account and pull a Tebow. You just do the fishing and the fucking cooking in the raid. Because honestly, Chambers started out as not a Tob-like raid. It simply, it literally came out with Dragon Harpoon as one of the items you could get.
Dragon Harpoon and Dragon Sword used to be on the drop table.
And Dragon Throne Axes.
Oh yeah, the Throne Axes too.
Yeah. I actually got a Dragon Sword and a Dragon Harpoon in my early solo days.
Huge purple, let's go.
Horrible feeling. But no, I mean, it used to actually be a sort of dungeoneering thing where there's skilling and there's PVM. So I'm okay with people pull items in Chambers when they're just skilling. That's fine.
He wasn't skilling, but we had a friend when I was playing that I think he died twice at home because he was a learner. And he died right at the end, and so he has the collection log screenshot of getting an arcane while he's respawning in the
I did not know that.
The upper room. Which is just such a good collection log screenshot. It's so funny.
That's great. Yeah, I've talked about this plenty, but I also just think the Chambers drop rates need to be not so
they're a bit rough.
They're just so rough.
Yeah.
They just need to be increased a little bit. Just make it so I've been advocating for 50% increase on the drop rates. Just make it 50% more common. But even if it was 20%, even just something, because we're gonna get raids 4, we're gonna get raids 5, we're gonna get raid 6.
It's so wildly disproportionate, and as those new ones enter, it's going to continue being even more wildly disproportionate.
I know. It's just fucking rip the Band-Aid off. I don't know. It'd be so much more fun getting even 20% more purples just across the board.
Basically, let's be honest, that means 20% more prayer scrolls. What's the problem, guys? Come on.
And I had I think it was chemistry I had on the cast, and he actually brought up a great thing that could actually happen. Is imagine they do the same thing that they did with Tob hard mode, where now if you do a Tob hard mode, you actually have a higher chance of getting the big ticket items, and you get less chance of a Vernix. The same thing they could do with challenge mode raids is lower the prayer scroll chance in challenge mode. Is that true,
CMs?
I don't think so. Is it? I think it's
I believe it is.
Is
Somebody
it
was telling me it is. I think that's actually
I had no idea.
Could be misinfo. Not sure.
I thought it was just straight up. You get
School Wiki help.
5,000 additional points every CM. I didn't know that it rebalanced the rates of the purples.
Let's see. Yeah, somebody might have lied to me. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't think that's the case, but then again, I've not been up to date on every single update that jumps into this game. But I doubt that's the case. If it is, I'll stand corrected. But that would be
a lot of
really
Bird's information is like passed down through raiders and just like
it's things that have been told to me over time.
The folklore,
so somebody probably said that, and I never fact check these things because it's always in like the middle of a raid that somebody would be telling me these things.
Yeah.
And so I never go and check. I'm just like, oh, okay, cool.
No, I mean, the thing is, like, there's a lot of stuff that I'm told, and I'll just regurgitate it. I'm told a lot of things on my Twitch stream. I take it as gospel, and then I realize, oh, you're a fucking liar. But yeah, no, that would be a really positive change to make it so now challenge mode, the prayer scrolls are a lot less common. They've rebalanced it with the mega rares being, a little bit more common there, and the other things.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it listed on the wiki, so I think I've been lied to.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go.
I think you've been lied to.
I'm gonna go ream someone after this podcast.
Victim of misinformation. Rip.
Anyways, yeah, that'd be a good change.
Yeah, things like that would be great. That'd be a great rebalance to the prayer scrolls. But yeah, I'm always a proponent of just buffing chambers rates. I'm still a huge proponent of buffing nightmare rates, even after the big buff they already did.
I think it's still too rare.
Yeah, it is. It of course is. And I was talking to Kieran about it. He totally agrees. But it's just like, what in their eyes they are just walking this tightrope, and it's so fucking hard to get it right because they're trying to appeal to the entire player
it's
base.
Not even that it's hard to get it right. It's actually that it's impossible. You cannot appease everybody. It is literally not possible. So they just have to figure out what is going to make the most people happy.
Yep.
Well, I was listening to the Josh Strife-Hayes episode, and he had a really good point that I think applies to this. You can't try to appeal to everyone, because then you end up with a middle-of-the-road thing that appeals to nobody.
Correct.
Right? So I think they just kind of need to pull the Band-Aid on some things and be like, yeah, we're going to piss off some entrenched players, but it's going to be better in the long run for everyone else, right? Yeah. Making Inquisitor and all the other drops, make them more common. And then, like, they should add a clue scroll update. I know it's going to piss off the cloggers, but please, I want more clue scroll uniques.
Yeah. That's
or a new
tough
tier.
Well.
And yeah, it's not like, and even if you don't want to piss off the collection loggers, it's not like you need to add like new third age, just new regular stuff. And I'm sure the cloggers aren't going to be happy about that. But
if you add new regular stuff, they basically have to get the collection log all over again.
Yeah.
Because of the way that that factors into the time.
It's just hard. It's a hard thing to balance. I think. Yeah, go.
I was just gonna say it's impossible to balance around collection loggers. You just can't. You literally just cannot think about them while you're making content. Otherwise, you just can't add content to the game.
Yep, it's totally true.
Because it's already nigh impossible to do that. Shout out to the guys that are getting extremely close, all things considered. But
yeah, Marnie.
How close is Marnie? Do you know?
He's just missing Gilded and Third Age stuff. Actually, I think it's like just Third Age at this point or something.
That's crazy.
Just like what the... Like he actually has the full boss, full minigame, full...
Is he the one that's still missing the baguette, or is it someone else?
I think he's missing baguette too, actually. I think that's the one thing he's missing in miscellaneous. Maybe that's him.
I still don't have baguette.
I'm fairly confident there's someone who is fairly high on the collection log leaderboards only because they just have a shit ton of Gilded and Third Age.
Like their
like the rest of their log isn't amazing, but their time to like not max, but
time to like
what I'm used to saying. Yeah, time to finishing it is like way shorter, just because they have a ton of Third Age.
Well, that was Marnie at one point, even because his Third Age like was just fucking unbelievable. But now he's also just completed everything else as well. The dude's a
1543 out of 1560. That is insane.
Yeah, that's wild.
I never thought we'd see anyone that close.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it takes so long to even get one piece of Third Age that he needs. It's going to take years upon years upon years.
Yeah, that's the crazy part about Third Age. Is every time you get a piece of Third Age, okay, cool, but now you have another piece you can get a dupe of.
Yep.
Every time it gets harder.
It's a brutal grind, but it's still very impressive. I mean, I don't know if you've ever popped into his Twitch stream, but he's doing like these casket openings, and bro, you just watch the way he plays. It's just, even when he's streaming and, you know, you would imagine relaxing and opening caskets and having a good time. The dude is just flying through them. He's wasting no fucking time. Just boom, 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 boom. Just instantly gear into another master clue. Just zooming. The dude is just no chill. Like, he does not waste
just how
time.
he plays the game now. He's just gotten used to it.
I'm gonna be honest. I try to avoid like following or watching people that are like super high up end game players like that. I don't know if this applies to Marnie, but it definitely applies to some other people high up on the collection log. They tend to be very negative about the game, and I'm over that at this point.
They are, and I just totally understandable. I'd be fucking hating the game too if I just spam
that's the thing I've never understood
years.
about human beings. It's like, why, if you hate all of this so much, and you're just fucking like rolling the slot machine at this point, trying to get this insanely rare thing, dude. There's so many good games out there. And you're even playing one of them. It just does not compute with my brain. Like, I know it might still be fun for them in some way that I just don't understand from the outside, but it's just weird.
They enjoy the hating. That is, have you ever seen hate watchers, like people that hate watch stuff like that? That is also
something that doesn't make sense to me. So
they enjoy the hate. I mean, that's what's causing their enjoyment. You know, surely that's part of it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely something that just is incompatible with my brain.
Yeah. No, I mean, the thing is RuneScape, so I don't know your guys' full history with the game, but I was definitely a very competitive player. I mean, my Iron Man's just jacked. I mean, just literally 1.7 bill XP and a bunch of fucking gear. And, like, there was a time where, you know, I was just so degenerate with the game, and just, like, it's all I focused on. And I can totally imagine almost, like, it's weird because I think for me, I was never going to be that much of a degenerate to really push the limits and, like, start clogging out of control on my Iron Man and whatnot, just taking the game to another fucking level where it's just like, okay, I gotta start clocking in 16-hour days just to, like, keep going with this clog, you know, just get rank 1, you know, or whatever. But I definitely understand that kind of mentality that it just kind of slips into it. Like, you're in a position where you're actually a pretty high rank and you just want to keep up with it because, you know, you maybe don't have much more going on in life. But I'm so glad personally that I could escape from that feeling of, like, not being logged in, because I used to have that of, like, if I'm logged out, you know, I'm wasting time. Like, I could be doing something. And I remember feeling that, like, years and years ago. And it's nice because I've been logged out of Sae Bae now for, like, 2.5 months, almost 3 months now. Just haven't done anything on it, and I'm fine.
Nothing at all.
No, I mean,
like,
I've logged in, like, twice to, like, help my dude with, like, shamans and trouble brewing, but no, nothing. No grinding. And it's been nice because I'm just allowed to have fun with the game. And I feel, in a way, sort of bad for the cloggers that are, like, super in it, because it's like, bruh, you're actually just glued to this one grind. Like, when you get to a certain point, you have to just keep doing this. Yeah, casket over and over and over. Which, I love clue scrolls, but oh my god, if I had to just spam on repeat clue scrolls is the only thing I could ever do.
Yeah, I thought I was gonna do a lot more clue scrolls post max, but
yeah, I still have more clue completions than you on my group iron than you have on your main, which is still insane to me.
Yeah, I just haven't
used to be way on it back in the day.
Yeah, back when I was grinding a ton of Sarachnis pre-max. But yeah, I'm barely past 1,000 clues total. And I don't know, I just haven't felt the urge to do them.
Maybe if you had as many clues as me, you'd have gotten a piece of Third Age too.
I'll take my Gilded. That's fine. Actually, you have a piece of Gilded too now. So.
I got that first. The old Gilded Spear. What a piece of garbage.
It's just a stick. Just an
orange stick with a little piece of yellow on top.
Yeah. I'm really glad my Iron Man was pretty lucky on Third Age. I mean, I have almost the classic Third Age melee set. I'm just missing the helmet. And on an Iron Man, that's just fucking sexy. It's just absolutely gorgeous. But
so outside of the prestige, how do you feel about the look of Third Age? Bird and I were arguing about this the other day.
Ooh. So I love the look of the classic 3 sets. I'm not as big of a fan of Druidic just because it's newer.
Yeah,
I
it doesn't
think
really look like Third Age. I think it looks fine. I just don't think it looks like Third Age.
Yeah, I've never been a fan of that, and people are always like, people covet the Third Age pickaxe. I've always been way more of a fan of the longsword, and my favorite standalone piece is the bow. Like if I just could have one piece of Third Age, it's the bow 100%. The bow is just the fucking sexiest thing in this game.
I'm probably right there with you with the bow.
Yeah.
But
Really
overall,
like the axe.
just in general, I kind of just don't like any of Third Age. I think it all looks kind of bad.
I love
think it
the
all
look of
looks
Third Age.
kind of jank. I've never been a huge fan of it.
I love the original 3.
I really like the Third Age ranged. I think that's my favorite.
I love the checkered like D-hide. Like it just looks fucking clean.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of Third Age, honestly. I'm surprised you see it differently.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never been a huge fan of it. I think
Totally fair.
the bow is kind of neat, but for me, it's less of the models and more of just the color scheme. It's not a color scheme that vibes with me. I'm not hugely fond of it.
I will say, I think
Obviously, the
Third Age
prestige of
wand
it is
looks
cool.
terrible.
But the wand is weird. It feels a little too high poly.
It's not even that it's high poly. It's just the polys are jumbled around. It looks terrible.
Yeah, I guess it's not that it's high poly. It's just that it's weird.
Weird poly. Yeah.
It looks like they had the model and then they like scaled it down or something, and it just like messed it up.
It's very odd. Like from a distance, it just looks like a stick, but if you look close, it's just weird. Very strange object.
I remember getting Third Age VAMs. That sucked.
Oh,
It's still good because it's still Third Age and it's still on an Iron Man. It's still cool to get, but like fucking A. Just like why?
That looks terrible. I mean, it looks fine with the full set, but by itself, it's just like it looks like you put your hands in 2 cardboard boxes.
Yeah, it's not great. Yeah, Third Age though was always the reason I loved Clue Scrolls. It was just that going for Third Age just felt so good, and when you actually pull it and you get somewhat lucky, I think my Iron Man deserves like 3 pieces of Third Age and I have 5. But then you see some accounts, and we're seeing more and more of them all the time because now Clue Scrolls are basically stackable, so you can just endlessly run Clue Scrolls.
I hate that system.
Yeah, can we talk about that real quick for a second?
We will. Give me one sec
right,
just to
keep going.
explain like how bad the Third Age disparity can really be. I mean, you guys have probably gone 5x rate on something in this game.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Imagine.
Honestly, not really. Besides like Chompy Chick, but that's such a meme to go drive for. Like it doesn't even matter.
Still. I mean, but you understand that it's a very real possibility to go 5x the rate of something.
Even if it's something that's like super low drop rate.
Yeah.
It still just feels bad to go like 5 times rate for it.
Yeah, I'm like 2.5 times rate or 2 times rate for the jar at Thermi. So like that kind of sucks.
Think about a time you've gone 4 or 5x the rate of something, and now think about that being applied to Third Age. So you're an Iron Man that's a really dedicated Iron Man going for Third Age, or even going for a Bloodhound. And now you're looking at 4,000 Master Clues for a Bloodhound, or something even crazier like 6,000 Master Clues for your first piece of Third Age.
Or imagine you go 8 times the rate.
Yeah, that's a literal possibility. I mean, it's crazy. Casey went 6.3x the rate of his Bloodhound.
Yeah, that's insane to me.
So this shit happens, and I always feel bad about those accounts, like those really cursed accounts, because there's a real possibility that Sae Bae could have no Third Age right now. I could have just done all the Clue Scrolls I've ever done, no Third Age. Just really real, and that would suck. Thank God.
Be lucky. It's that easy.
Seriously. What were you gonna say though, Bird?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, how do we feel about droppable, stackable clues? What do we
just make them stackable now?
We
already have stackable clues. They're just in the worst form. It's just juggle them and shit.
Yeah, because I was originally kind of on the fence about stackable clues because I was like, oh, all these accounts that these people that never do their clues, now they're just gonna end up with all these clues in their bank, and I don't know how I feel about that. But now that we basically have stackable clues in the game, but it's just weird. I'm like, okay, I'm already doing this. Everybody's already doing this. If we're gonna have this in the game, just do it for real. Like, this is weird.
That's how I feel. I was always against stackable clues, but then they just basically dropped it on us. And
Yeah, it
we
was
already
kind
have it.
of unannounced, just like, or well, it was announced, but like,
I think it was because people figured out they could death pile them, right?
yeah,
You figured out you could death pile a clue scroll and it would stay on the ground for an hour. It's like, okay, cool. And then somebody on the dev team was probably like, this is dumb. What if we made this easier to do?
hmm
Not really thinking about the large, I mean, obviously I'm projecting a little bit, but not really thinking about the larger ramifications of it, maybe.
yeah.
And then we end
I
up
think
with
there
where
was
we are today.
a UIM change to clues, the
That was
update
it.
prior, and so then the next update they also changed how it worked for mains.
Yeah, it's just, and don't get me wrong, a
it's
lot of
not
people are
great.
loving clues now because, you know, you can just endlessly stack.
Yeah, I
You
mean,
can,
it is kind of nice. For instances, like I had a bunch of Skatizo totems saved up, and I could just not have to de-gear and do clues every time. I
Yep,
could just kill the
yep.
boss a bunch of times in a row, and then go back to my crafting guild that is now a fucking trash can disaster of clue scrolls on the ground, and then do all of them
yeah,
at once.
no, it's great. So at this point, just give us stackable clues. Like,
Yeah.
just do it. Holy
I
shit.
can't remember if this is an
Forever and
idea
ever.
I stole from you or if I stole it elsewhere, if I came up with it myself, but like I think clues should be stackable in that you can have unlimited of them, but they should take up individual bank slots.
Yeah,
That
there was a problem with that. There's a few issues with that because that was yeah, you're right on the head of just that's what I was originally proposing, was just allowing you to just have as many clues as you want, and boom, if you have a hard clue in your inventory, you kill another hellhound, it can also drop a hard, you can pick it up. They're not stacked, but they're just there. The problem is you think of the Giga Galaxy brain people that would totally do this, which is being on a main account and just endlessly opening, you know, let's just say hard clues, or just opening magpies or whatever, and just have a fuck ton of hard clues. And they just keep funneling them into their bank. And you know how every clue, if it's a clue with the same step, it's the same ID. So those
okay.
clues would now start being stacked in their bank,
Yeah.
but the other ones wouldn't. So then what you're going to do is you're going to keep opening these until you get 27 clues of one type that says dig here, and you're going to bring all of them with one fucking spade and dig once, and 27 of them are going to upgrade in their step.
Okay, I can see the problem with
There's
that.
just going to be some weird shit, and
I
but,
think
yeah.
they could maybe do engine work to make it not behave that way, but I think at that point you're probably asking too much.
You're asking too much of a team that already has a solution in the way that Leagues works.
Yeah,
They can literally just throw that in if
Yeah.
they want to just have stackable clues.
I would even, you know, I think it's cool to have just rework how clues sort of work and make it so there's that the scroll box, you know, so clues are in the scroll box and you pull them out and then you have a clue scroll, and you could still do the hour juggle potentially where you drop them, you know, if it's going to help you, you know, if it's going to help you complete a clue because you're missing a bunch of requirements for a master or something, you can do like drop technique or whatever, but
Yeah,
the
I think
clues
it's
are still
definitely
being stored
important
in
to
the
keep that
scroll
for
box.
the snowflakes.
I really like the hour-long timer because there's the strap for the master clues where you just keep a 3-step that doesn't suck major ass.
Yep. And that's why I
The
think
hour
this,
timer for that is very nice.
and that's why I think the scroll box works really nicely. If scroll boxes are just what drop now, and those are the stackable things, and then you open it, and then you get a clue that's not stackable, and then you can still do the juggle method, so you can still do the master technique, you can still do this other stuff, but the scroll box is what's basically stacking the clues. But who knows? We'll see what Jagex does, but I kind of like the scroll box idea.
I think eventually they'll have to do something.
You could also do like a best of both worlds where scroll boxes would function kind of like Wintertod crates where they can only stack in one in the bank and then you can still only have one actual clue. If you really wanted to enforce that kind of a method. But
No, I think it's fine to be stacked, honestly,
Yeah.
because you can't just freely, scroll through this huge list of all the
Yeah, and then at that
steps you
point,
have.
it's like we're restricting we're restricting how many clue scrolls people can have by the amount of bank spaces they have if they're
Mm-hmm.
unstackable. So it's like that's kind of a weird way to do it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see what happens in the future.
Yeah, very curious.
Yeah, and for RuneFest that happens in March, I'm curious if they're gonna drop some sort of new clue expansion or talk about that. They're probably going to announce Raids 4 at that point.
Yeah, we'll
You
see.
think?
I think they will.
I
think
feel
they'll
like it's
announce
weird to announce Raids 4 before we get Sailing released.
Dude, Sailing's
think
not
that's weird.
releasing until like 2027.
Yeah,
I don't
maybe.
think that's that big of a deal. I know they've alluded to the idea of a sailing raid, but I don't think that's like their
No, I don't-
priority for for something. I don't think sailing's really going to be tied into a raid, so I don't really see how those coincide.
I think we'll get a Sailing dungeon, like the one they showed off in
The Game Jam.
where it's like a mini raid sort of deal. But I don't think we'll get a Sailing raid, at least not for a while. But it still just feels weird that they would release or announce a big thing like a raid while they're still doing this like big undertaking of Sailing at the same time.
That's fair, I guess.
Although I would love to see another raid. In the Fremennik area would be pretty cool, maybe. I feel like that's a good place to put it.
There's a lot of places they could put it. I'm really wanting, this is just based on a bunch of different conversations I've had and just streams and stuff, but I think the best Raids 4 mega rare we could have is a Tribrid boot that is simply best in slot on all 3 styles. So these
could be
boots
nice.
these boots would cost max cash. They are the mega rare from it, and it just eliminates entirely a need for like a 9-way switch if you're bringing your boots and trying to maximize stuff. This is simply a way to, the last boots upgrade really besides the Aranea boots is, Serb. Serb was what, 2015 or something? Like, Jesus, that'll have been over a decade.
Amplifications are still useless.
Yeah, so just come out with these brand new boots that are actually the best in slot for again, the attack style. It's not going to have like the Aranea effects and the Guardian boot effect, but just offensive wise, best in slot on all 3 styles. And I think that would be just an incredible mega rare that's not reinventing the wheel. It's simply just like it's like the Barrow's gloves of whenever Recipe for Disaster came out. Just
Yeah, I'm not against that, but I fear that we'd have a lot of players that would be like, "This is lame compared to the other mega rares."
yeah, they would, but
And I fear that Jagex they want to have that wow factor to a mega rare
That's
that's
true.
going
They
to
do.
impress a lot of players.
they do. That's a good point actually, and that doesn't have to be the only mega rare. They could come out with something else.
Yeah, it could be a chamber style thing, multiple mega rares.
I also think it would be kind of cool to have maybe a I've always wanted a new ballista. I don't think it's going to come out of the raid.
I can agree with that.
Yeah.
I'm down for a new ballista.
A new heavy.
I just think
heavy
ballistas
set.
are cool, and I'm glad they're seeing some actual use nowadays. There's like some actual niche use cases in PVM as well for them now.
Yeah.
Very niche with like the tormented demons, and I think it's useful at Araxor as well for the little guys.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see seeing some use, kind of forced use cases, but
having a new ballista would be amazing. You know what I also want? This is just my own selfish desire, is I want a new whip. I think whips are so iconic to old school.
Whips are cool.
that's fair. Yeah.
And I would love a whip that is a new, just fucking beast of a weapon. Maybe even like a 3-tick whip. Something that's just actually just explosive. Like it's just fucking good.
Yeah, I know you had talked at some point about wanting like faster tick weapons for the new mega rares because they're harder to use.
Yes.
I love. I mean, it's gonna be weird, but I love using the blowpipe. I love pipe walking.
It's fun as fuck.
So yeah, I can't say I particularly disagree. I imagine it would be a nightmare to balance because the blowpipe has been a continuing nightmare for them.
Yeah. My first thought when you mentioned
goddamn, is it fun to use?
Tribrid boots, and I was like, oh god, are they gonna give it range strength? Is blowpipe gonna become too good with it?
I think it would have range strength.
I still think Pegasian should have at least one, since the Eternals got 1% in mage strength. What the heck, guys? Come on.
The thing is like a lot of people hated the Eternal switch because now they feel obligated to bring boot switches. It always used to just be bring prims, and that's the whole reason for this mega rare to come out. And the reason I'm choosing for it to be a mega rare is I don't want to devalue Serb. I don't want this to not be the mega rare, and then all of a sudden you have this perfect boot that's okay.
I mean,
never do Serb.
Maybe it could also be like the tier right below mega rare or something, But
I think
I would agree that it would need to be fairly rare.
I think they'd have to do something more than just be the perfect tribrid boots.
I don't think
otherwise.
But you could have
upset.
You could have something else be the wow factor. So you could have those boots.
Yeah.
And then you could also have, in my opinion, I think it would be cool to have a fast attacking weapon. So we don't have a 2-tick wand yet, and we don't have a 2-tick melee weapon. We don't even barely have a 3-tick weapon, a melee weapon. So I think that is, and you hit it correctly when I said like we have these mega rare items that they're like so fucking easy to use because they're so slow, so easy to not lose ticks. As soon as you make it a 2-tick attacking weapon, like holy, you really want you have to be gaming because every tick you lose is so much more significant now.
Because that's why blowpipe is so good, is because you roll accuracy so frequently.
But blowpipe can be horrible if you're bad at using it. If you're missing a tick every single time you're attacking,
then you're not rolling accuracy so frequently.
Exactly.
So what's the point? Just use a slower weapon that rolls better accuracy.
And if they want to balance, because here's the problem with balancing like a 2-tick weapon, for example, is you have so many pieces of gear that are giving you just outrageous amounts of strength bonus. So as soon as you speed up a melee attack to 3 ticks, all of a sudden all your gear is getting basically a multiplier, a huge multiplier. So what they need to do with like a 2-tick melee weapon is they need to make it so it's calculated based on like a 4-tick gear setup. So it's almost like they calculate it based on a 4-tick thing, and then they split that up into 2. And so the gear isn't having this exponential effect. It's like a multiply by 2.
It would just end up with like a pathetic strength bonus on it, and people would be like, "Oh, that's weird. Why does this mega rare have a low strength bonus on it?" It's like, well, because
I mean, if it was a
2-tick, guys,
if it was a 2-tick weapon right now, if you had a 2-tick weapon, it could have 0 stats and it'd be a fucking punishing weapon. Like it would be insane.
Fucking good.
It'd be really, really good. You're basically just punching in full max melee every 2 ticks. Like that's actually
as long as it has like any accuracy stats at all, it should be crazy.
Yeah, no, it would be wild. So what you need to do is balance it that way, and I just think that would be so fucking fun. Can you imagine just having those?
Yeah, it'd just be very fun to use.
It'd be so fun just running in and just punching. I wanted those abyssal claws or abyssal knuckles or whatever I call them, just running and just punching the fuck out of people.
Oh yeah, like brass knuckles type thing.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden you have a special attack with it as well that makes it so it's like every 1 tick for like the next 4 attacks. It's boom, 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 boom. It'd be sick.
I've joked about adding a dragon salamander that would have a spec where for 6 ticks it would alternate styles every tick and just like machine gun.
Oh shit.
That would be so fun to use, but I don't know where they'd put it and if it would be even remotely balanced. But like Bird and I in the past have gone PKing with salamanders.
Dude, it's so goofy.
You guys are legends.
So fun.
Actual legends.
Salamander PKing is so goofy because if you're receiving the salamander damage, you just genuinely have no idea what to pray. It's impossible to tell.
Yep. That was bad. Oh my god! I didn't even know you could attack players with salamanders. Honestly,
you can. It's so goofy.
It's really obviously it's pretty inaccurate, but against like people in rag gear, you just obliterate them because they literally cannot pray correctly.
Yeah, we just went to the chaos altar where everyone shows up in rag gear to jump pile you, and you have a salamander with like black hide or something, and
that's crazy.
They don't know what's going on anymore.
I would have no idea what's going on. I'd be like, what the hell? Yeah.
Yeah.
Very goofy.
Do you think it would be a good idea to reintroduce the Temekin's Heka? Because that was supposed to be like 2-tick, right?
Yeah, it was 2-tick with
5-tick
the like
or something at the end.
Yeah,
they made it overly complicated. So it was like every 4th attack, it's a 4-tick.
Yeah, and then it had like spellbook effects.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I thought that was probably too much.
I personally thought that the like 3 2-ticks into a 4-tick attack wasn't the worst idea. It sounded mildly interesting. I think I did beta test it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was cool because it was kind of interesting to have to think about like, okay, when am I getting my fourth big attack?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to remember that my attack speed is going to be slower. I can do a couple of different actions in between, but oftentimes it did just result in I'm just sitting here, just shooting it, and
It's just
happens
annoying
to deal more damage sometimes.
And the thing is, if you really wanted to have some sort of, diversity in your attack speeds, just bring a fucking shadow switch.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, now you're having a 2-tick attacking weapon. Now you have your big attacking weapon. Like that it's so much better to just have a switch for that rather than just having one weapon. Now you have to count and see what's going on. Like, oh my God. It was overly complicated, and you had the weird spellbook effects that were fucking weird.
Yeah, the spellbook effects were just even more on top of something that was already fairly complicated in terms of old school RuneScape weapon. It was like, okay, do we need this? This is...
Yeah.
We're clearly reaching a little bit here now.
You have to keep it simple, and a 2-tick magic wand is all you need. You need a 2-tick magic wand.
Because then I suppose eventually you'll end up with the thing where, like, on the core, people use their faster weapon, and then right at the end as the core is about to go away, if you have a big weapon, you switch to that.
Exactly.
You'll end up with a situation like that.
Mm-hmm. So I think a 2-tick attacking mage weapon, even 3-tick is great. Just literally going down to 3-tick, and eventually we can have 2-tick. But I think 2-tick is just way more fun. It's just a lot more fluid. And,
yeah, 2-tick. 2-tick, you end up with a lot of interaction with the game screen, which is what I like.
It's so
having
fun.
to actually do a bunch of stuff all the time.
Yeah,
which is why Leviathan has always been so interesting to me. There's always some stupid shit going on at that boss.
And blowpiping stuff is just so fun.
Yeah,
so
I love finding any excuse to do goofy pipe walking stuff.
Yeah, I know you were bringing it to Chambers for Ulm when I had
when you
the
had
glaive.
the phenol sticks.
Yeah, before I did the shadow rebuild, I would bring the glaive to Chambers just because it was mildly useful on Ulm Head, and then
Ice Demon,
against Ice Demon. Yeah,
I think something else, but
I think that's about it. Honestly.
Let me ask you guys, kind of changing gears.
Fair enough.
What skill needs the most work? Like what skill needs the most amount of updates?
Fire making.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of true. Fire making is a nothing skill right now.
I would like to see it have some actual use, but if it was left how it is, I wouldn't be too upset.
You know what they should do? You know those... They should make it so fire making actually has a use in cooking. So you go to a range, and you actually have to light the range, and whatever your fire making level is, it makes the range at a perfect temperature, so your cooking decreases or something. Just some fucking...
Yeah, like your burn chance or something.
Yeah. Just the higher fire making you have when you're cooking at a range, it means you're better at keeping the range at a stable temperature, and you don't burn your stuff as much. I'm just making up stuff. This is like one of those conversations where it's like it's totally needless, but it does expand on the lore.
It's fun to
a little
talk
bit.
about.
Yeah, the lore of fire making, but
it's
so
hard for me to say what skill needs the actual most work, because a lot of my issues have been addressed. I think thieving's been addressed, at least for the mid game with the Varlamore thieving, or the early game, or whenever you do that. I still don't really like thieving. I would kind of wish they would do something with
thieving
the stun
needs
mechanics.
a full rework. It's so
yeah. It's not great when you're
interesting.
doing end game thieving and you're just sitting there getting stunned every 4 times. And you're like, well, I'm still getting a lot of XP, I guess, but I'm sitting here stunned, so that's annoying.
It's misery.
That's why I didn't like a lot of modern hero shooters, is because it was just stun fests, and it's like, okay, cool, I love not playing the game.
Dude,
any mechanic that stuns you in games, I've never been fond of.
If you're gonna add the stunning, at least make it so you can eat in that time and not stall yourself even longer. What the fuck, man? Like, they truly have designed it in the worst possible. It's so masochistic. It's the same thing with any sort of free. The only exception, I think, is Hespori. When you get trapped in the vines, you can actually eat in that window, and it doesn't slow you down more. That is a window where you're supposed to eat. in any other PVM situation where you get frozen by something like skeletal wyverns, if you eat, it just adds on to the freeze effect because you just tacked on. Stop it with that. Stop tacking on additional ticks when you're frozen or stunned. Like, just let us fucking eat freely. Oh my god. Horrible.
Yeah, nobody likes being stunned. It's very boring.
It's horrible.
You literally just don't get to play the game. Like, it's that simple.
It's so bad. It's so bad, dude. Yeah, they need to... Somebody, I said this, it was like some video. Somebody needs to take a fistful of fucking mushrooms and totally reimagine what thieving can be. Like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah,
I would like to see Hunter looked at too.
Hunter, they got so damn
Fletching's
close,
the one
man.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah, fletching.
Oh yeah, what do you...
I'm excited to see the fletching thing that's happening, whatever it is. Go ahead, though. I don't know what you were going to say.
I was going to ask about Hunter rumors. You said something about they got really close, or what? What were you saying?
I was just going to say they got so close with Hunter rumors because they added all the Hunter meats. They added the rumor system, which I think is great. But they didn't take the time to make the Hunter methods that just suck and are boring at least a little more interesting.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dead falling is literally brain dead content.
So
you
bad.
do nothing.
Yep.
Pitfall trapping is only slightly better.
Yeah, they need to go in there and fucking play test it for more than 2 seconds and realize
if they go in there
sucks.
and make those Hunter methods more engaging to do, Hunter rumors makes Hunter perfect. The problem is Hunter rumors can send you to these dog shit spots that are so goddamn boring. So you have to set up your like Hunter block list to get rid of these,
which is so unintuitive.
Which is so unintuitive. It's like it's so close to greatness in my opinion. They just missed it by they reached for the sky and they're just like barely not able to grab onto something to hold on there. It's very very close, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. You know what also sucks is have you guys done Moons of Peril?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what's really awful is when it's 1 HP and you have to do a whole another 50-second fucking ice phase with the icicles moving. You're just sitting there. And you're just so tilted, you don't even go to those braziers. You're just sitting there, so it regens 100 fucking HP, and you go back. It's just like, what is that? Allow us. That is horrible. That is, and it nulls your attack. It nulls your attack. I felt
the same way. Yeah, that's really dumb. I felt the same way about specifically Eclipse Moon. The you have to walk around him behind the shield.
Yeah, the bolt.
It felt strange to me that you can't range him during that because that's like Inferno training. I thought this was supposed to be we're training the little baby boys to figure this stuff out. Like obviously it's supposed to be a melee boss.
Yeah.
But if you could at least deal like a little damage by ranging from behind the shield, I feel like that would be a little more engaging and would help people understand moving with the shield a little better.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that 100%, because you're just sitting there walking like a fucking idiot just the whole time. It's just so slow. You can't even run around it. You have to walk. And like, dude, just make it so if the boss is 1 HP, you just don't even hide behind the struggle. Just take the risk. Just go and hit it. No, but there's no attack options on it. You gotta do this bullshit. You gotta do the scripted content that the game is forcing you to do. Do the script. Follow the script. Fucking A, man.
The ones where you have to light the 2 braziers, I've always felt that you should be able to attack the boss once you light the 2 braziers to actually encourage you to go light them both.
I know, dude. Amen.
It's so annoying.
Like it feels like there's so many mechanics where it's like we're trying to get people to do stuff and then we're just not rewarding them for doing the mechanic.
Yeah, and even the icicle kicking, you kick the icicle and you're still sitting there for 3 more phases of it because you got to give a chance. You got to give everybody the fair amount of time and everything. Like, what is going on? Allow us to do some damage.
Allow some skill expression.
Yeah, once the mechanic is over, you should be allowed to hit the boss.
Yes.
It shouldn't force you to sit there doing nothing.
Yes,
there's
it's so bad.
There's a tile I have marked for the ice boss where you just stand there after you've completed both the mechanics, and it's like, why am I just standing here doing nothing?
Agony. It's pure agony.
They got at least somewhere pretty decent with the Blood Moon Jaguars. That one, there's at least a little engagement happening. But then you have the other one where it's just raining blood and you're just mostly just standing around and then, oh shit, there's a blood pool spawning underneath me. Guess I'll click somewhere else.
Yeah.
Everything just feels just very, very scripted.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Moons is great. The rewards are phenomenal. The loot is generous.
And I do like the kind of, everything, it can hit everybody, so you can like kind of see other people and all that. I love that idea.
Yeah.
But some of the traps they fell into trying to design it that way have been, as we've discussed, somewhat not entertaining at all.
And I will say, if you try to go do moons with your noob friend, you're gonna very quickly outpace
See ya.
them, and then you're just not seeing them anymore.
I know. That's actually, genuinely, I think they should never do what they did with Moons again.
I think it was a great idea, but yeah,
It was a good experiment.
It was a good experiment. It's just like, it would genuinely be cooler to make it so you could just jump in with the boys, and now you've just had a scaled encounter, so you're all following each other. Like
I think we ended up with what we did just because it was mostly supposed to be Barrows 2.
Yeah, it makes
so they
sense.
kind of had to bridge the gap between the two.
You're right.
Barrows without a bunch of Arams spawning in the room. It's a little weird when you have 4 of the same ghost just hanging out in a room. Everyone's fighting their own version of it.
Yeah, no. I think the worst part is what you said though earlier. It's just like you are trying to go in with your friend, like, hey, we can do this together, and then all of a sudden you just never see each other again.
Yeah,
it is still kind of fun though to every once in a while be like, oh hey, I see you're at the eclipse moon. So am I. What's going on?
That's true.
Like it's still fun to
if you do it for more than 3
amount of
chests
fun.
and you lap them again. But
Yeah.
I by the end of 3 chests, I'm like, get me out of here, please. I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah, the lens I look at a lot of new content isn't like, how is this content for me? It's like, can I do this content with my friend who's playing on a 1200 total account? And I feel like they keep releasing content that just doesn't quite hit the mark.
Like it's clear that they're trying to do something like that, but yeah, it's just never quite there. Because it's the same with Hueycodal.
Yeah,
Hueycodal is definitely lower leveled, but for like early mid game players, it's still kind of a slog. They're not doing any damage. They're getting like one of the items that are being dropped.
Yeah, I was doing 3-mans. It was it was me and then another guy in full Blood Moon, and then we had a guy using like the ice tamales, the new ice hammers.
Tamales, let's go.
Yeah.
You ever had hot tamales? I love those.
Oh, they're good. Yeah.
Thank you for agreeing they're good. I swear, everyone's like, oh,
wait, do people say they're not good? Hold on.
People
That's
don't
crazy.
like hot tamales, and the reason
the
is because
heck?
I don't think they've even had them. I think they just imagine it's some nasty. Don't get me wrong.
Oh.
There's some cinnamon candies that suck. I don't like Red Hots. I don't like Fireballs. I don't want to eat that shit. I want to eat hot tamales. Those things are great.
I haven't had a hot tamale in years.
Anyway,
but-
sorry for interrupting. You're talking about
No,
ice
you're
tamales,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, the ice tamales, I don't know how you actually pronounce them, but they're not great. I mean, it's a decent weapon, but like we ended up taking forever to do kills because we're basically 2-manning, but with the ability to get the damage bonus. So
I feel like another thing with Hueycodal though is if you're with a lot of like quite low level people, going into like a 6-man or a slightly larger group than a 3-man, that's usually a lot more fun. But once again, we come back to that getting a group can be a hassle kind of thing,
I actually like Huey.
It's a give and take. I think Huey's great, yeah.
Huey's just, it's simple, and I like that. I actually like the simplicity behind it.
I really like I think they did a great job with the prayer pillars mechanic that kind of actually forces you to get in a group because it's way easier to do in a group, and it makes the boss way faster.
Yep. And you remember on the Summer Summit, they were talking about like some sand crab boss.
yeah, the AFK.
Yeah, I'm
boss.
actually totally
I'm down for that.
Yeah, me too.
It sounds like something that you could genuinely bring literally anybody to.
Yep.
And
just hang out.
They can just hit the boss and just hang out.
Just hang out and attack a fucking wall.
Yeah.
My only worry is it's gonna be like Wintertodd public chat where it's just vile, just
Well, that's why you just don't do masses.
Wait.
You go with the
That's
boys.
exactly why I want the sand boss.
That's actually true fair as well.
I want more.
You know, there's a certain level of
I want
entertainment.
more
to that.
underground areas. You know.
Yeah.
No,
I guess
but
it is just kind of shit posting, but
it is.
there's entertainment in that.
Yeah, no, but the sand crab boss would be fucking great because I just imagine it. Now, I wasn't even playing around these times, but I remember there was Ivy in like RS3 or pre-EOC or whatever it was. Or you're just like hacking at a fucking wall with leaves on it.
Oh yeah, I remember
So
that.
it's almost as I imagine,
I wasn't playing that. I have
like
no idea
sand
what this
crabs.
is.
It was just like red. It was like pre-redwoods. It's just redwoods. Again, I wasn't even playing. I just have seen
Gotcha.
videos of it and I've heard about it. But yeah, no, this would be like the redwoods of PVM, but you're just there with the boys, just fucking hacking away at this sand crab. It just has seemingly infinite life, and you're just whacking it. And then when it eventually dies, oh, here's your 100 buckets of sand. Like, here you go. I think that'd be great. It'd be fun as
It'd
fuck.
be fun.
Here's
Also
your
the
100 regular caskets.
Ooh, that would be huge, actually.
That would be very funny. You can just look at all these sapphires and gold coins I got, guys.
Dude, now you
I
just
love the regular caskets. They're so silly.
You just reminded me of big net fishing. That was something I really wanted to have get buffed.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair, yeah.
They just need to slightly buff it. Just make it so.
Give it slightly better random garbage.
And imagine this. Imagine. I know this sounds crazy. Hear me out. What if you could actually have a rare chance of just actually pulling a fucking casket? Like an actual clue casket.
like
that
a
you
clue
didn't
casket?
even solve the clue. You just actually one in
That's a bit
10,000 of
wild.
you got a medium casket.
Oh, if we're going like ridiculous rates, you know, I'm all for stupid shit like that.
I just think that would be so great just to rarely get an easy casket
I
and
love
to
the like
very
one
rarely.
in 1 in 10 million or whatever from the
Well, maybe not 10
Italy clue
million.
guards, but I'm talking about the
Yeah.
other ones that are goofy.
Yeah.
That are just like something
onyx
stupid
from
that
the
you can
gem
get.
bag.
Yeah, the onyx from the gem
1 in
bag.
100
I love
million,
those
yeah.
existing.
But even something where just the very, very, very occasional just medium casket shows up. It's not the efficient way to get your fucking mediums, but you can just randomly get one and you open it up, boom, Ranger boots. Like, oh my God, can you imagine? That'd be great.
It would be funny.
Yeah, I think I'd be fine with that, honestly.
Yeah.
Would it just be mediums, or
I
would
was
it
thinking
be...
easies and mediums, but who knows? Maybe
Okay.
that could even be the very, very rare chance of getting a hard, but nothing like beyond that, I don't think.
You don't want the 1 in 10 million for a master casket?
Yeah, fuck it. Yeah, let's do the 1 in 10 million. I'll do that. But it would that would be kind of fun. I always wanted them to kind of rebalance. I was hoping forestry would rebalance some of the trees as well. There were
Yeah.
some nice changes made, but
Kind of
there's,
did.
there's still
Yeah.
certain trees that are just like. Have you ever chopped Arctic pines? No, nobody has because the fucking XP rate's dog
Well,
All right, so I
I'm gonna,
actually have
we're gonna
Oh,
outsmart
God.
here.
quite
no.
a bit.
Oh,
So if you're not tick manipulating,
shit. Yeah.
Arctic pines are the best way to get the beaver pet, as far as I understand.
Mm-hmm.
They're better than redwoods, but they're way less AFK. So I've done a bunch of forestry at Arctic pines. I'm doing yews right now.
They had a really good clue rate too. Like clue
Did they
nest
really?
rate. I think they did I think teaks were better long term,
Gotcha.
but they still had that rate. What I wanted, but this is before forestry had ever happened. I just wanted Arctic pines. You know, if it's such dog shit XP, why not make it sort of like the penguin course for agility, where it's just really bad XP, but you get a really high rate of a pet. And
Yeah.
you know, Arctic pines could have that, but they could also even have, you know, low XP rate, but also give a lot of clue nests. So if you're a clue hunter and you want to do some skilling with it, then you can have this lower XP activity, but you're getting a bunch of clue nests. I've always enjoyed that kind of aspect of skilling where it's like some shitty method that nobody's doing and buff it in some way that's not XP.
Yeah, and wrapping it around back to stackable clues, getting clues from skilling would be a lot more convenient with stackable clues. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna lie about
would.
that one.
They would.
Because when you're doing like an AFK fishing or an AFK wood cutting, God, I don't want to go do a clue right now. I bet the RuneScape's on my second monitor right now, man.
Yep.
Yeah, bringing back nests. I have the Twitcher gloves. I don't think these things have gotten me an egg nest a single time since I bought these after forestry came out.
And they used to be chargeable.
Yeah, and they
my
used to be
God.
chargeable. They were terrible. Yeah, I have these. They're terrible. They suck. Do not waste your bark or whatever you need on these things. They are.
Yeah, if you need something else first, do not get them. They're
It's
very bad. I
yeah.
still think with the pathetic, minuscule chance that they have, they should apply to birdhouses.
Yeah. Well, it's supposed to be a 20% chance or something. Yeah, 20% increased chance to receive a specific type of bird nest. So I guess because egg nests are so rare,
Yeah, I don't know.
you just basically never get the.
I
the
thought it
egg
used to be
nest.
like nothing. Did it get changed? Was it worse
Yeah,
than pathetic?
It was worse. It was.
Wasn't it like 5%,
Um.
I think?
Yeah, I don't remember what it was. I
So
think
it doesn't
was
work on
like,
birdhouses?
No, it doesn't.
That's so dumb.
It only works from woodcutting nests.
So dumb.
It used to
Yeah.
also not work on redwood trees because redwoods are very weird with the types of
Yeah, they don't drop
nests they
normal
can give.
nests. Yeah.
Yeah.
They only drop clue nests.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the chance of receiving the desired type of nest when one is received has been doubled to 20%, so it used to be 10%.
Yeah.
You know what I love out of the... So one of the best parts about skilling minigames is always like the little upgrades you get with things. So Temperos was a great example of the fishing barrel.
Huge.
Yeah.
And Guardians of the Rift, obviously, the fucking giant or the colossal pouch is amazing.
Also
but
huge.
Oh, it's so nice.
dude, mastering mixology with the goggles and the amulet goes
Huge.
so crazy. Oh my
Can
god.
I complain about mastering mixology for just one
Yeah,
moment?
let's hear it.
Why the fuck can I only put 3,000 of each of the tars
Bro,
in?
it
I
was
have to
300
recharge it.
at launch.
It was 300.
Why?
That's ridiculous.
Just let me put as many as I want.
I'm still of the
Please.
opinion. This has been my opinion since launch because that was the activity I did for like. I went out to my parents' place pretty far away that has like jank Wi-Fi, so I was just doing that at launch, just mastering mixology on my phone because we were in the middle of nowhere whenever I had downtime. And I still am of the opinion that the acquiring tar and having to put it in the little thingy is a completely needless step. I don't understand why that's there. Why doesn't it just give me the points when I put an herb in there? Why do I have to have a thing in my inventory that is literally just an object to put points into a minigame? From a gameplay design perspective, there is no point to that step.
It feels like it's a step that exists because it, quote, feels old school, you know?
Yeah.
That's fair.
And I don't know if that's a good thing.
Yeah, the one problem I have with mastering mixology is that the plugin is not reordering the 3 potions on the top. So it'll have me go to one station, then another station, then go back to the other station. Like, why don't you just fucking reorder it for me to maximize convenience? You're already doing all these convenient things for me. Just order this properly. Order it so the machine on the left is always going to be the first thing that's prioritized up on the top, so I don't have to do it myself in my mind.
Yeah, I end up having to I'll either make the potions in the correct quote unquote order,
That's what
or
I do.
I will make it in the wrong order, and then I'll just use the potion on the station.
Yeah, I hate that. I just wish that because it's just like such an easy thing to do. It's so easy to make a plugin that just reorders it, but especially with all they've done because the plugin's amazing.
The plugin is so great.
It's so good.
I was
still
using
haven't
it
used
day of release, and the plugin was not great then, and now it's like it does so much.
The
for
fact
you.
that it was even a plugin day of release is wild. I mean, that's just
okay.
the turnaround rate is just crazy. Yeah.
I don't know what's happening. I have gotten 3 loop half of keys, the moon ones now from the use, and I've been here for like a week, and I have not gotten a single one until today.
And then I got 3 on the pot. It's a Sae Bae luck.
Yeah, apparently.
So those keys, I don't fully understand how they work, but one of my buddies, I was having him get the sunlight crossbow for his fire cape runs, and he got one of those keys from just chopping down a regular tree so that he could catch sunlight antelopes.
Yep.
I didn't know it was just
Damn.
all throughout. I mean, I guess it makes sense that it's throughout anywhere in Varlamore, but
Yeah.
is it just any skilling activity anywhere in Varlamore?
Any mining and wood cutting. So
Mining
stars,
and fishing,
calcified
right?
rocks. Not fishing.
I thought people were like fishing lobsters or something.
Oh Oh, okay. It is fishing. The wiki
This
just doesn't
guy.
include that in the drop sources. It mentions it in the article, just not the drop sources. So maybe I'll fix that in a bit.
Yeah, I haven't really done much Varlamore 2, to be completely honest, besides
done a
like
huge amount
the
either.
quest. I had to kill a Frost Nagua, and I'd done a little bit of Hiwi and then Mastering Mixology for those 2 upgrades. And dude, goading potions. Oh, they're so good. I was actually just
I haven't
doing
tried them yet.
I was
haven't
just
tried
I was
them
just
yet
bursting
either.
some Necreals right before this on stream. Dude, you just take a fucking sip, and for 6 straight minutes the Necreals just keep coming back to you.
That sounds so nice.
There's no darting them, no equipping your darts or your whatever the hell else you're using now. Just
my
chilling.
my unrealistic wish with the goading potions is that it would work in raids, specifically for like learners at like Baba. It would be nice, right? You wouldn't have to worry about Baba unaggroing you and swapping if you mess up a red X.
Interesting.
But or at like chambers, it would be nice to be able to like force Ulm to turn.
Yeah, if
Ooh.
because like in 2-mans or some lower, like if people have lower gear and the person on melee hand has way better gear, you can end up where he just doesn't turn because mage hand isn't receiving enough damage.
There's probably so many like technical things with that, like trying to
Yeah,
plug
Yeah.
in that.
I understand why it didn't end up happening, but like I was really hoping they would do that.
Yeah, no, goading potions are amazing. Have you guys tried the prayer renewal thing potion yet? I
Yeah,
haven't used
they're
it.
really nice.
not
I've been doing Inferno attempts, and I've been using them, and it is
shit.
so nice.
How far have you gotten in Inferno?
I've seen the mages, and that's about it.
Damn.
Okay,
have
you know, slowly
Not
but
super
surely.
far.
Slowly but
Yeah.
surely.
I haven't been sending as much as I'd like. I've still been trying to do at least one a day.
Okay, that's respectable.
Yeah, the Inferno's been kicking my ass though. The blobs, I
Yeah, they're
lose
assholes.
one tick somewhere, and now I'm taking damage, and it's like, oh god.
Yeah, it's horrible, and they're so accurate.
Yeah, it's not the blobs themselves, because like even if I miss one tick, I'm still just alternating, so it's fine. But it's like whatever else I'm flicking against, usually a ranger. And
Yep.
it's like, oh god. now I'm eating ranger hits, and I'm not on the right tick. That's been like most of my deaths, honestly. That or not paying attention to when the meleeers are digging.
So you've been doing
then I-
Inferno. What have you been up to, Bird? Like in game a lot recently, or what do you
So-
enjoy doing even?
I mean, I was a big Chambers of Zarek enjoyer as of late. I was on the magical quest to get a dex on my iron, which turned into a very long quest. Ended up finally seeing it at what are we sitting at on raids? Because I don't think I've done a raid, maybe 2 since then.
We've done
We're
a couple.
280 regulars and 101 CMs, and I finally have a dex. I have 6 arcanes before I got a dex.
Aggravating.
It was rough out there, but finally got a dex. So I've been doing Slayer. I'm on my way to getting a another Zenite, so I can finally make a. Oh, I just completed a bunch of combat tasks for accidentally clicking on the combat tasks thing. Cool.
Dude, I need to tell you a funny story. So you know how they came out with those
Yeah, go for
Huey
it.
CAs? So I'm live, T Papa's live, Tasty's live, No Monkey's live. Those are my teammates. And we're all about to do a Zammy trip. So we're all like fucking gearing up for Zammy, and Tasty's like, "Hey, like we're all going to Zammy. We're all geared. You know, we're showing each other our inventories and everything." And Tasty's live. He doesn't see where I'm at, and he doesn't see where I'm at, and we're all in a Discord call. And all of a sudden, he sees in the clan chat that Satyr just achieved Huey, fucking perfect Huey or whatever the fucking thing was. And Tasty's just like, Satyr, why are you at Huey? Like just straight up, like he's fucking sad because we're all waiting outside the Zammy room, and I have to kill like 2 more imps before I'm at the Zammy room too. But he doesn't see me because I just opened up the CAs, and he's like, Satyr,
Yeah.
what are you doing at Huey? We're out here.
I just opened the CA's menu. I got the Moxie and the Huey ones.
I loved it because you could tell he wanted to fucking flame my ass so hard, but he actually literally thought I was at Huey, so he tried to like let me down. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" But he was pissed, and I was like,
That's
"No."
so funny.
And the thing is, I played it off like, "What? I thought we had enough time." I was just like pretending like I'm actually at Huey, and yeah, it's just fucking funny.
That's great.
Yeah, but no, I've been back on the Slayer grind. I've been trying to get another Zenite because that's another one of my terrible logs. I think I have 1,500 experiments, 1,500 demonic gorillas, and only one Zenite.
Oh
so,
no!
That's a fun one.
That's horrible. Okay,
Yeah.
let me ask you about demonic gorillas.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like it's appropriate at this point to make it so the threshold of them changing their styles is 100 HP instead of 50?
I'd be fine with that.
I think that would be
easy
so
to hit
good.
50.
Yeah, I'm fine with demonic gorillas. I like changing the prayers and changing the gear. I think it's all fine. But yeah, sometimes it is annoying to, especially now that I have the I did get quite lucky at Tormented Demons. I got a Synapse, so now I have the bow.
Ooh.
And now that thing can hit, I think, just over 50. So now if I end up going back to them, it's like I could hit them with Arclight once and deal like 50 damage.
Yep.
And then I'd have to gear switch and shoot one arrow and then deal 50 damage. And then gear switch again. Like,
It would just be
it's a
so
bit
much
excessive.
It'd be so much more chill if it was 100. I agree with you. Like demonics are fine enough because you're just slaughtering them.
Yeah.
But man, if they were 100 HP, just 4 switches a kill would be, or even 3 switches a kill would be so much nicer.
I did TDs recently because I'm doing Slayer again, and so despite being done at Zami, I was like, I guess I have to unblock Greater Demons again.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, and I've been getting Greater Demons tasks, so I'm like, okay, I'll try these guys out. And I think I got a Synapse at like 80 kills, so I got the bow really nice and quick. So those guys have been pretty fun to do. I actually really like the shield break mechanic. Adds a little bit of interesting engagement.
Dude.
And I haven't done it, but I find it very interesting and exciting that there's like the extra mechanics for fighting multiple at once. I think it's really cool that exists.
Yeah. It needs to be like more incentivized. They didn't incentivize it enough because nobody does it.
I think it's cool that it exists, but yeah, I'd agree. The incentive is just too low.
Dude, my Tormented Demons luck is insane.
Yeah,
I've
going
killed,
crazy.
Let me just show. I'll just show it on the YouTube's end as well. So I've killed 586 Tormented Demon kills, 4 Synapses, 3 Burning Claws.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I thought I was lucky with a Tormented Synapse at 80, but now I'm at 432 and I got nothing else to show for it. This guy's going crazy.
Dude, I got 3 of those Synapses within 30 kills.
God
That's
dang.
gross. That's so
I
gross.
just want one more so I can not have to charge Arclight anymore.
and then so I had 3 Synapses and a Burning Claw before this last task I just had. I was like, I'm not going to get anything for this next task, surely. Like,
Surely not.
I pulled 2 more Burning Claws and a Synapse, like that task. I'm like,
That's
what?
such a nice place to get spooned too.
Oh, it's so good, especially on a group, because I've just funded my group like entirely.
Yeah.
We have 2 sets of claws now.
Yeah,
So nice.
getting the claws is nice. I do quite want those. Because originally I was like, oh, I don't care about those. I can just get Dragon Claws eventually and they're better. No, they're not better everywhere, so it's still hypothetically good to have these. So we'll see if the TD's luck ends up being anything like my Gorilla's luck. I would be a little upset about that.
Yeah,
I think it also kind of goes back to how rare Chambers purples are. You can't really rely on getting the claws, you know?
I know.
It's nice that there's an option in Burning Claws.
I like.
I remember
Burning
there were a
Claws.
lot of people that were really upset. They were like, "Oh man, these Ironmen got it so easy. They can get these Burning Claws instead of the Dragon Claws." I'm like, bro, have you ever gotten Dragon Claws? Because if so, congrats. But
Yeah, they I'm so happy Jagex still goes through with these things because I feel like the community just doesn't have the broader vision that the devs have, generally speaking. Because those Burning Claws are a phenomenal addition to the game. I love having
I think
that.
they're great.
I love having that as an additional like weapon in your arsenal.
Because I remember, because you were talking about No Monkey, how he's kind of changed his vision of the mid game. Because I remember, I think when the I could be talking about ass. I don't remember too much, but I think when the burning claws were first proposed, he was like, "These are dog shit. These are stupid. These shouldn't be in the game."
Yep. Because you're only seeing the game through the eyes of an absolute max.
And I don't mean to rag on him, but I think that's what he said.
No, it's
And
totally
that's not
true.
necessarily a bad thing. That's just how he saw the game, and maybe still does. I don't know, but I mean,
He definitely has a reputation in my clan. A lot of my clanmates hate No Monkey.
I still like him. I've always kind of understood that he just sees the game differently than I do, and I find that interesting personally. So he's good at the game. He knows some interesting stuff, you know.
Yeah. No, he definitely, and again, it just comes
He's also
down
funny.
to. Yeah, no, he's a like such a good entertainer. He knows how to entertain. He's a great streamer. He's got it down. It's fun watching. Like I find myself camped in the stream. I mean, he's part of my team as well, so it's even an extra bit of enjoyment. But yeah, no, he's always had that mindset of like, just he sees the game very PVM, like black and white. It's all PVM, and it's all like, what's the best stuff. But it is nice that he's getting this extra view. He's living through an Iron Man experience, and so ultimately he's just going to have even more knowledge about, you know, what's actually good for the game, because he's going to see it through a different lens, which I think is really healthy.
And knowing is half the battle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely think. I mean, I really enjoy No Monkey, but I think his video on the end game PVM, like
that soured a lot of people.
Yeah, if you know what video I'm talking about,
the old villain arc.
Yeah.
No, he's definitely got that, like, you know, that ego that I personally find it charming. I find anybody that's passionate enough about RuneScape to have
him. I find it charming, but I found it encourages some very interesting characters.
No, it definitely does. I think No Monkey balances it well, where he can take a joke. He can laugh at his own mistakes. He's still got that kind of just a little bit more of an ego where he doesn't want to admit he's wrong in some situations, which again, it's charming enough where it's like he's not. And the thing is, he's actually a good person as well. He's not like a toxic asshole. He genuinely, like,
I mean, he makes teaching videos.
Yes.
You have to at least be a little bit of a good person to be willing to go through all the time to make videos to try and help people get better at the game.
His Inferno guides have been great.
Yeah, he's actually a good person at heart. He just is very passionate about RuneScape, and he'll have very strong opinions on things. And I think that is actually partly what makes him so entertaining to watch, is because he is just so passionate. So.
Yeah, I would tend to agree.
Okay, what else have we missed that
what else would be fun to talk about?
Because are you guys doing leagues? I'm never a leagues player. I think it's ADHD man mode. You guys playing it though?
Yeah, I'm definitely doing it for a bit.
I'm a big leagues guy. I didn't play during Twisted. I wasn't really super into RuneScape at the time, but I've gone pretty crazy in all the other ones. And I finally got a Dragon Cup in the Trailblazer Reloaded. I don't know if I'll do it again, because it really just comes down to how much of a change we see in this next league, because them announcing that it's region locking again and that forever, I understand that it's difficult to come up with leagues ideas, because we saw like Shattered Relics was interesting, but largely considered probably one of the worst leagues. So it's difficult to come up with ideas. It really just comes down to how different this league is, how different it feels. Because if it just feels like Trailblazer again, I'm probably out.
So I think it's probably for the best that they've basically just made all leagues locked to regions, because we saw with the ideas that the community had, it was basically like, oh, Twisted Leagues too, because we have Varlamore, or I saw people saying they wanted group Iron Man leagues, and
That's
it's like
just a terrible idea.
None of these ideas are good. I didn't see a single good community suggestion for what the leagues should be. I saw like people saying it should be like Benjamin button mode where you start out maxed and you slowly. I'm like, that sounds so unfun. Like you do a bunch of combat the day one and now you're level 1 and everything else sucks. Like I don't know.
Button mode's fucking that's for the that's actually I think I coined that actually years ago on a ramble, but it's so funny because it's so masochistic and it's so like just brain rotted, like nothing else going on in your life. That's gonna be fun as fuck. Like it's gonna be the competition of Benjamin Button mode for a one-time thing. Genuinely sounds fun for the giga nerds, but any normal human is gonna find this absolutely
it wouldn't be fun
repulsive.
for like a league's appeal.
I think if they did, you know how they used to do like the skilling competitions way back when?
Yeah.
If they did like that, but it was a Benjamin
it can't be a
Button mode
league.
thing.
It can't be a league.
Yeah.
It's got to be a fun thing. Like I think they did King of the Skill in like a November of 2016 or 2017 or 2015 even. I can't remember when it was, but that was great because it was just a random spur of the moment. Here we're gonna do this. It's all just for shits and giggles, and we're just going to send it. And that would be a really fun thing to do for Benjamin Button mode, where nobody's really going to be doing it unless you're actually that crazy person that's going to try it. But having that race just for like a month.
Yeah, I definitely think there's just not enough good league ideas. Like maybe they could get like 1 or 2 more unique things out, but then they're going to have to start doing repeats. They're going to be doing Twisted Leagues 2 and like, oh, maybe they do a Kandarin locked or something, but like in the end that's basically just what they're already doing, but more restrictive.
Basically my only idea ever was essentially what Goody has started doing, a randomizer type bullshit, but I knew that was probably not on the table for leagues because leagues still has that like competitive aspect, and because to keep it interesting you'd have to make everybody's randomization different and random. Some people would just be luckier and would just have an easier time getting higher ranks. So I don't think they'd ever do that, but I think it would be really fun. And I'm really happy to see Goodies doing the Gamba mode. It looks really silly.
I think, and of course we're getting Project Zanaris coming out next year.
I want to talk about that a little bit.
It's kind of like eliminated even the real discussion about this, but I always wanted that hardcore main man mode. Separate server. Everyone has one life. Everyone you're looking at has never died. That sounds fucking fun.
Could be cool.
Yeah, I think that could be interesting. Because that's kind of like a what did they call it? The fresh start worlds. It's kind of like that, but like everyone is like a specific Iron Man, or I guess they wouldn't have to be Iron Man, just hardcore.
We're all mains.
Yeah.
We're all main accounts. We can use the Grand Exchange. We can trade each other. We can go to the wilderness. Everything is tradable. Everything's the exact same, but everyone has one life. It's just, I always need to paint this to make it a little bit more clear. Think about the wilderness, bro. You go into the fucking wilderness, and if you die, you're out of the server. Like whoever killed you kills you. So imagine the clan wars potentially that would happen. Like it is truly the most strategic thing you'd ever see if there was actually, and the other cool thing is low level PKing would actually be brought back because nobody would really want to train up an account that's gonna just eventually die and get kicked out. So you'd have so many low level accounts out in the wilderness where the stakes are so fucking high because if you die, you get kicked out of the server. You have to remake accounts, and so you'd bring back that a little bit. Now, of course, that's not what everyone's cup of tea is going to be, but even imagine raids. You're going in raids. Everyone has the hardcore group Iron Man death where everything's dangerous. So Chamber's dangerous. You pull a fucking Tebow, you pull a Scythe, you're rich. I mean, you're just going to... the transfer rates would be insane. And you're doing Theater of Blood, and one of your guys dies to bloat, but he doesn't sit in the cage. He's just actually out of the server. Like, this shit would be Hunger Games status. Like, it'd be so wild.
Imagine the drama of like someone like doing a PK style raid where you like try to get other people killed.
Oh my god.
Yeah, no, imagine Zarpus. Zarpus is where you can actually just PK your teammates. Dude, imagine this. You got to also imagine you're in a world where everyone has one life. So, let's just say you're killing sand crabs. I need to train my stats. some motherfucker could just lure over something over to you, wherever you're at. People would try to pull stunts
I
on
do that
you.
shit all the time in the main game of just like,
Yeah, but
somebody's
imagine you
doing
only
this
had one
thing where
life.
I could hypothetically get them killed in a funny way.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna try that.
There's going to be lures like that because everyone knows if they kill them, they're out of the server. Like, it's going to be crazy. And
I always
everybody
laugh about the vampire being lured to the farming patch in Mauritania.
That shit. When I was
Bro.
lower level, that shit would endlessly piss me off, and I'd always like lure it back away because I'd just fucking not want to deal with it and get other people to not have to deal with it.
Good for you, man. I hate that.
I was like, I was always the guy that was like, get
Feral
this guy
vampire.
out of here, man. Fuck off.
He's so annoying. No, but everybody would have a mule as well. That would we tried to discuss ways around it, but I think the most clean solution is to actually just allow you to have a mule. So pretty much everybody would have an account that really has all their valuables on it. And that would be the way to kind of have like your secondary bank that's not being risked.
I feel like if let's say in a hypothetical universe, this was like a Project Zanaris private server where all this occurred, you'd end up with some like in-server lore that you see in some of like the EVE Onlines or some of the like really popular old Minecraft servers or all these private servers from other games. You'd end up with like player-driven lore of like notorious players and shit. It'd be very interesting.
Oh yeah, you would. And you'd have these giga chads that lasted so long and eventually die. Just like if you maxed on that account and you just, let's just even say you had a TiVo on that account, like you are worshipped. I mean, if you have an Infernal Cape, you're worshipped.
Yeah, that would be
cool. It's a cool mode.
That'd be quite the achievement.
It's just such a cool world thinking everyone has one life. I think that's such a creative and just interesting server to be on. And what did you want to talk about with Project Zanaris?
Oh man, so when they released the blog for that, they said in the blog, or maybe it was in the video, that like it doesn't take away from any dev resources because it's an entirely different team. And I'm just like, that's not really how that works, right? Because that's money that could have been funded towards like main game developers or towards adding resources to the main game in some way. And even if there's like, let's just assume for some reason this money would never go to old school, right? It was always going to be Project Zanaris or nothing. That's still like dev tax that has to be paid attention to for like everything else that's developed in the future, because you have to make it in a way that's compatible with whatever they do for Project Zanaris, right? If they add a new boss, they have to consider how they're going to develop the boss in a way that like players can then customize in the future. Like unless they somehow going to have like this other dev team go in after the fact and like edit the boss or whatever activity they add so that it can work with Project Zanaris. But like,
that's a great point. There's also, I guess, one of the counterpoints. I think you actually do bring up a pretty big point though. One of the counters that I was talking to a Gentle Tractor, because again, I haven't talked about all that. Honestly, just you mentioning just game updates in general, how it's going to work with Project Xanaris is going to be a bit wonky. But
yeah,
the cool thing is if they eventually allow so much creativity in Project Xanaris that you can create your own bosses potentially and create your own skilling methods and your own whatever, then we can pull the very best ideas that we've seen community that the community's made and drag them into the main game because they're so fucking good. So I think the benefit of it, like at least just money wise, is like you're actually just allowing so much more freedom and so much creativity to flow that people can literally make the coolest things ever, and we can actually just put those into the main game. If they're
I'm not totally negative on Project Zanaris. I definitely think like there's a lot of cool things that could come out of it. I definitely think like for like Minecraft, like modding is like one of my favorite things to do with the game. So like having basically modded servers in RuneScape is really cool. Or like playing like alternate game modes, like in Halo and Call of Duty, playing like prop hunt or like these community driven game modes, I think is super fun. So I definitely think like Project Xanaris could be very fun, and there could be a lot of really cool things that come out of it. But I do have worries about like dev resources being put into this. I also worry like, are players going to be able to like peer into the matrix of how RuneScape works like to be able to modify things? Are we going to be able to like look at like things that the devs never intended us to be able to look at? I don't know how that's all going to work. I don't know.
No, you're right. And there's so many other issues that could definitely arise and will arise. I mean, even just the moderation. I mean, how are you? Who's moderating these servers? And what?
Yeah. Is someone adding a RuneScape sex update? Are we gonna have to worry about that?
I mean, I think they discussed that the new team will have like some kind of moderation going on as well, but still definitely a very interesting question. Just like, how is this moderation going to work when servers that have like inappropriate content, if that happens, are they going to get banned? Are the players going to get banned in the real game? What's going to be happening here, man? It's very interesting, but I do think that the potential for user generated content is huge, and I think that's the large driving force here. Is every game developer knows that if you can make the users do all the work for you and make content for you, your game will last longer.
Yep.
So I think that's probably one of the major driving forces, which is like kind of good and kind of bad. But it's good that we still have, obviously, the old school team has been doing a great job. It's very clear that a lot of them are very passionate about making this game very good, at least from my perspective. So, and it's not like we haven't had any community content in the game before. You know, very frequently the developers admit to admit to or literally just ask the community for ideas.
Yeah.
So I think Project Zanaris will be even further in that direction of like players will be able to literally create things in the game engine, and then the developers will be able to look at that and be like, oh, interesting.
Yeah.
And then adapt some things, or I don't know, maybe at some point we'll even see like direct ports of content that people have made in Project Zanaris. Who knows?
Okay, so I want to rewind to an earlier conversation just about your guys' podcast, Guthix Rest. You guys seem to have you guys took a break for several months this year.
Yeah.
So let me just ask about just the podcasting when it comes to like consistency, what you guys have noticed, and just I want to hear about what caused the break in
we both hate
action.
So we both hate editing.
Yeah.
It's really that simple.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes back to like I'm a perfectionist when it comes to editing. And I do enjoy the editing process to some degree, but like there was during that period at my work, we had a lot of people leave. So I was working very long shifts, 14, 15-hour shifts. And so I'd get home and I was like, I don't want to then sit down and essentially do what's a second job.
Yeah.
And edit for 3 or 4 hours. So like that put me on hiatus for a while. I've hired an editor to edit some episodes. Not all of them. I've edited the last 2 episodes, but I'll probably end up having him edit either the next one or the one after. Because now I have a bit more time, so I can actually edit on my weekends. And yeah, the consistency of the podcast, like we definitely got a lot of people reaching out to us, like asking when the show was returning, which was encouraging and a big reason why I ended up bringing it back and finally getting an editor, because like it feels bad to have people like who genuinely like the show not be able to listen to it. Yeah. And that feels a little bad.
Yeah,
it's for me.
Yeah, go for it.
I just want to say, for me, I haven't done a ton of the editing. I've always kind of like I'll admit I've always been the second wheel of the podcast. I have not done nearly as much work as Sparre. And part of that, for at least the editing part, I don't know that I've ever admitted this to Sparre, but I didn't want to do a lot of the audio editing because I was worried I was going to have to ask Sparre a bunch of questions about how exactly he edits, because it comes back to that perfectionist thing where it's like, I don't want the episodes that I edit to feel different than the ones that Sparre edited.
That's fair.
Yeah, I can definitely say there is a different feel to the episodes that Michael edits.
And that's the worry that I had if I were to start going in and doing the edits, because I knew Sparre didn't have a ton of time. And so having to like ask him all these questions, like basically try to one for one replicate his editing style, would basically require him to still edit an episode with me there. Which maybe eventually we will end up doing and we can split that work. But for the most part, I've been kind of out of the editing because I am too afraid of my perfectionist self, just like deciding that everything is terrible because this doesn't sound like a normal episode edited by Sparre.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, before season 2, we didn't really do YouTube either, because Bird was tasked with doing like the YouTube portion of it, which was just like,
and then I perfectionist that too much, and then it took too long. And
you went way overboard on like adding visuals to everything we're talking about. Whenever we'd bring up a blog or something, you'd like
we don't do
down.
webcam, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I know some people like to actually have a visual element, because I'm kind of the same way. I watch a couple of podcasts on the side that have like a visual element, and I'm like, oh, this is kind of nice to be able to look at some stuff every once in a while. You know, they're talking about a thing, so they flash up some context. So I tried to do that, but I think I went way overboard with it because I just wanted it to be too good, and it just took forever, and then I just ended up hating it, and I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah. No, I totally feel that. It's like, especially if you want to be consistent doing it long term, it's like you got to find something that's like sustainable. That's not.
Yeah, and we
making
were
you
also
hate
doing
yourself.
every week then, and so it was very time consuming.
Yeah, we're every other week now, so if I'm doing the editing, what I end up doing is I usually don't do much of the editing throughout the week, but then on the day that we would record, I just do the rest of the editing, or all of it if I hadn't touched it yet. And that way, like, we still get an episode out every other week, and it's actually coming out and being worked on. And then if Michael's doing the editing, then I just send it to him after we're done recording. He has a week to do it, and then it goes out early to like patrons, or it goes out early, like a week early or so, and then
and how often do you guys
happy.
have guests on?
That's
whenever they come on.
Yeah, we don't have like a set schedule for that. I actually need to reach out. We were supposed to have on Saxer Pillar like a while ago, like last year. But that ended up falling through. But he actually just reached out to me the other day, and I forgot to reply to him. But he'll probably be our next guest, and that's just kind of whenever we feel like having a guest on. More than like
I think
schedule.
the strategy we were discussing is, since we do every other week for normal recordings now, if we do a guest recording, we kind of slot that in on the off week.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
I'm wishing you guys the very best when it comes to podcasting. I know it's like it's this thing that you have to stay consistent with, and you have to try to maximize the fun you're having with it and not see it too much as like work or a lot of effort into it. You just want to enjoy the process, because ultimately, like you guys said, you started it because you just wanted to fucking talk about RuneScape. You didn't want other people bringing up other
the
crap.
recording part is never the problem.
Yeah, no, we still have a ton of fun recording and
It's just
talking about the
everything
game.
else. It can be a bog. Yeah.
Well, like I'm terrified of having to like hypothetically moderate a community at some point if the shit gets popular. It's like,
Yeah.
God forbid. God forbid.
yeah.
We refer to XP Waste as like our sister podcast because they're a huge part of like what got us started.
Yeah. A lot of our audience came over because XP Waste was like, yeah, there's these guys, they exist, because Sparre was a huge part of their community. So
see, what I'm waiting for is somebody to make a video. I want, it can't be any of the actual podcasters. It's got to be somebody else that's more unbiased and has listened to all the podcasting going on, and then, just gives the pros and cons of all the OSRS podcasts out there. That's what I want to see. I can't do it myself because I'm a podcaster. I want somebody else to go in, because that it seems like there's so many podcasts that just aren't that well known. OSRS in particular.
There's a lot. I know.
there's got to be one out there for
going
you.
through like YouTube recently, and there was like two like basically brand new old school podcasts that had just come out. I was like, how are these still popping up, and how have I not heard of these yet?
Yep.
Like this RS3 podcast ended up making an old school podcast. I don't know if they're still going, but it was apparently a pretty popular RS3 podcast, and now they're doing old school too.
And the J Mod started a podcast.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm still haven't seen that, but
I listened to
sounds
that the other
interesting.
day. It was pretty cool.
I mean, they have one episode that they recorded 3 months ago and finally published it. I'm just like,
Yeah.
what's
because
going
I
on?
think that was a game jam thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see.
And then they have another episode recorded that's also like 3 months old,
Yeah.
from my understanding.
So they
Yeah.
also hate editing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think they cite that as one of the reasons.
Hey,
I'm excited
relatable.
about it though, because I like listening to podcasts. So them making one is great.
I think it's okay to kind of leak this. I won't go into too many details, but we were talking with someone that was working behind the scenes at RuneFest, and there was talks about like us potentially getting comped tickets because there was potential that we were going to be part of like a panel or something, or like a booth. But that ended up falling through, and now I don't think any of that's happening. So, yeah, it like I think that was like 90% of the reason why I was okay with going to it before it got canceled. But then,
Now it's just
You know,
like, why?
yeah,
Yeah, now there's no chance,
That
and
sucks.
it's in a weird time frame.
Yeah.
A lot of people that were originally going are no longer going, but there's more new people going. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't even
I'm a little
know if-
upset because I did. I got to wear it to PAX, but I did a Raymond of the Eye cosplay, which was really fun, and I was really hoping to wear that to RuneFest, where it wouldn't just be some people knowing what it was, a very
Everybody.
rare few. It would be literally every single person at the event.
That
So,
would be
I was
amazing.
pretty excited for that, but
Yeah.
yeah. I'll
it's not like I can't wear it next time, you know.
It's true.
I'll drop the link in the Discord, but there's the cosplay Bird did. I
Oh,
want
need
to show that
see
on
this.
screen.
I need to see this.
The bird head is photoshopped on, but
No, that's just what I look like.
Oh hell yeah. Oh hell yeah. I was gonna say, I was like, that bird head looks really accurate. Yeah.
That's just what I look like in real life.
It's the actual Kriara.
I put a lot of work into
That.
making that look okay on the Photoshop.
Shout out to that
Even
guy
got,
in
even got the
Helldivers
little
cosplay
like
too. He's
even
huge.
got the satchel and everything. That looks great.
Yeah, there's still a couple more things I wanted to do to it, but I was really happy with the way it turned out.
Yeah, that looks amazing.
The rune crafting cape I think looks
Yeah,
really
you can't
good.
see it in that image, but
Yeah.
I have the little insignia on the back. I'm really happy with the way that turned
Oh,
out.
that is clean.
I think
then.
the pauldrons came out great too, because like a lot of that ends
Those
up
were
looking
so
really
dumb.
bad.
Oh my god, yeah. That was the piece that we spent the most time theory crafting, because if you look at a lot of people trying to cosplay the 99 capes, that nobody's like ever gotten that thing right. And I don't know that I even got it 100% right, but I think it's good enough. I think it actually looks like that weird, like, if you stop and think about it, what is that? Hello?
Yeah, I called it a pauldron, but it's not really. Like
Who
It's
wears
just a
something like that, man? What the
bit
heck?
that sticks up and it kind of looks weird, but it's on all the capes, so
It's very odd. But
yeah.
It's a very weird piece to design, but I have
Yeah.
I have a very talented friend that did like basically all of the work, and she did an amazing job with it. So
Yeah, it looks great. I can't see the back of the cape, obviously, but
yeah, I don't know if I have an
imagine
image of
looks
it. I could literally walk into the other room and grab an image of it, and I can send it to you later if you want. But
yeah.
I'm really happy with it. So
Yeah, unlucky then this year. But
Yeah.
again, I think they're going to be bringing back RuneFest, a yearly thing, hopefully after this. So.
yeah,
Yeah, and hopefully they'll have like a proper event team too to like make things go
Yeah,
a
we'll
little
see.
smoother.
Yes, and hopefully they've gauged a little bit on how many people would probably come next time. I know it's hard to gauge every year, but I mean, get a bigger venue. Sounds like there's way
Yeah.
more than 3,000 even that want to come.
well,
Maybe-
the thing is crazy now. I think the venue they have is technically bigger now that they're not sharing it with Insomnia.
yeah, but it's
Yeah.
still the
But
tickets
it's still
got sold out in a
it's
minute.
so few people. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think part of the incentive too was like, oh, cool, I can go to this Insomnia event too alongside RuneFest. 'Cause
Yeah,
I'm sure like
because
there's
that was
not-
the other reason that the tickets were so expensive.
yeah.
But now they're just expensive for a 2-day event.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. 2
So,
days.
Yeah, because I was just talking about how I went to PAX. I think a day pass was $70 or $80 for each day, and so going to a 4-day event is like almost the same price as going to RuneFest for 2 days.
Mm-hmm. And there's so much more to do at PAX.
Yes, there was a lot going on. So
Well, Sparre and Bird, I appreciate your guys' time coming on today. That I feel like we're gonna need to do more collabs. I feel like the podcasters we gotta unite a little bit more. I know, I also have to get Boon Babe on. I gotta get do a collab. Either I go on their podcast or they come on.
I'm sure she would love to do that. I know she's always talking about how nervous she is to like reach out to people. So
yeah, that's the thing. You just gotta reach out. I've had some really awkward things where I've reached out and they've actually declined, but it happens here and there. But most of the time, people are pretty willing to come on.
Yeah, usually people don't decline outright. Usually, I just get ghosted by people.
Yeah, that's a decline.
Yeah, that's fair.
No, and that's it's happened to me too, even. But yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for coming on. Honestly, this is it's so easy to talk to you guys. I feel like you guys are natural. Just the time I came on your guys' podcast as well a year ago, it just felt incredibly natural, and it still feels that way. So I'm glad I could get you guys on. I'm hoping people listening will jump over and check out your guys' podcast, Guthix Rest. And you guys said it is on YouTube now and on Spotify and everything else. So it's as convenient as ever now to go check it out. So I'm going to have all your guys' links down in the description. I'll have you guys link those to me after the recording. I'll have them all down there. And yeah, I'm trying to think. Is there anything else you guys would like to say? Any final words before we wrap things up?
Yeah, I just want to give a couple shout outs if that's okay.
Yes, please.
I just want to shout out XP Waste and the guys over in TNL. They, were a huge part of helping us get Guthix Rest started. If it wasn't for them, I probably would have never actually gone through with making the podcast. So shout out Michael and Oxy. Also shout out to the people in Petscape. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks for having us on the podcast. I know we're kind of humegalols.
Yeah,
we're not.
The Twitter replies
huge,
were just
so.
like,
Yeah.
who the fuck are these guys? Get these other creators on.
Yeah, you get those on every reply. You get some people. It's like, why haven't you had this guy on yet? But yeah, no, I'm happy we could do this. We could finally schedule it. And who knows? Maybe next year we can even do a revamp when Varlamore 2 comes out. Maybe that Enraged boss. We can talk a little bit more about it. I could jump back on your guys' podcast as well, even.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Okay. Well, thank you guys. Thank you all for listening. If you guys want to support the podcast as well, there's a Patreon link and YouTube membership link down there. You can support it. Get your name on the title screen. But that is it for me. So we will catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
See ya.
Bye.